It's Friday. Welcome to Namaste Today Live. I'm your host, Sensei Christopher Witecki, here to be your cosmic guide to your personal ascension. I'm so happy to be here. It is March 1st, 2024. We are streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, X.com, formerly known as Twitter, and now we are streaming live on our Instagram account for SJ Serious Joy. If you're in the super chat, do me a favor, tell us where you're watching from and say hello. Hello to Kelly and the kids. I love that. Iggy, it's so nice to see you. Hello, Michelle. Always a pleasure. Chris Bond. Is that close to James Bond? I had to say that, of course. Hello, Experimental Elemental. So always nice to see you as well. Karen Pallant in Redondo Beach. Hello. Shiva, Karma Busters. Okay. Hello, Jennifer. Hello, Carla from San Francisco. I lived there for a few years. And one more, I'm just waiting for it to pop up. Facebook user. It always does that. Hello, Facebook user. Oh, the shots method. Hello from Cleveland. So nice to see you, Gina. What a pleasure. It's quite a week. I don't know if y'all are feeling it. My goodness, I have been sort of in and out of reality in this Pisces season. We're going through a timeline shift. We're going to talk about that. And I swear to Goddess, I'm in the middle of it right now. In fact, I'm not even sure if you're in the same timeline as I am right now. But we are launching a new timeline this week, and we have so much to talk about, friends. Venus and Mars are squaring Uranus this week, which means we're going to shift your manifest potential. Mars is sextiling the North Node, which means you're going to once again try to do something that you once failed at. And Mercury kisses Neptune on Friday, which will confirm the new destiny and the new timeline. And tonight, I am so excited to have one of my soul buddies back. Our psychic friend, who is a psychic medium, Scott Cruz, is here. And we have a special. We're going to actually do some tag team readings for all 12 signs and give you a prediction for what we are calling the summer of love. But first, let's take a look at the week's moods and your zodiac weather. This zodiac weather is from Saturday, March 2nd to Friday, March 8th, 2024. Taking a look first at the weekend forecast. Over the weekend, you have now summed up a new spiritual life within you, and it's time to explore and see how will life change on the outside. Let's drill down. On Saturday, it's sunny and cheerful. Step 12 means that Jupiter rules the day. That brings an air of optimism and expansion and learning into the mix. The moon moves from Scorpio to Sag, so you feel your story in review with yourself, sort of reliving little moments of being you. This is the day where you're going to expand into new options for daily life that are more spiritual and aligned with your soul and feeling out the potential of the future. It's an exploring day on Saturday. On Sunday, it's sunny and soulful. Step 13 means that Uranus rules the day. Expect the unexpected. There may be a surprise coming to you. You are opening up to a new timeline, basically, and taking your perspective of what life should be to a higher level. On top of that, Venus squares Uranus, so you're reconciling the vibe you want with what you want to manifest, so you're shopping for new manifestations. And Sun opposing Juno means your heart is counterbalancing with how reality will feel at the end. With the moon in Sagittarius, you're also replaying the story of your life emotionally. Now looking ahead at the 5-day weekday forecast, seeing the week ahead, you will now expand into new possibilities for how your karmic life will go. You will commit by Thursday and take your first action on Friday. Let's start though with Monday. On Monday, it's sunny and rather lively. Step 14 means Mercury rules the day. This will be a day of a lot of conversation, exchange, and connections. You're going to use that mental perspective to reframe the way you see karma in daily life or your spiritual path in daily life. You could say it's the birth of a new adventure. Mars will sextile the North Node, which means you're going to kind of connect your vibe of that what you want with the literal action plan of what you need to do. And Mercury sextiles Uranus, which means you're going to intellectually realize your manifest potential. The moon crosses the galactic center, so you'll emotionally feel a calling to a purpose. And then the moon shifts into Capricorn, where you'll feel the responsibility it takes to achieve that purpose. On Tuesday, it's sunny and fair. Step 15 means Venus rules the day. This is a creative resting and receiving day. You're really opening your heart to accept this new perspective on daily life, or opening your heart to a new timeline. You are, in essence, accepting the way it needs to go. And with the moon in Capricorn, you emotionally mean business. On Wednesday, it's cloudy and mystifying. Step 16 means Neptune rules the day. This is the second Grandmaster spiritual day of the Pisces season. You will come to understand and learn what your karmic story is about daily life. And once you can understand it, you can step away from it. You are riding the soul escalator, so to speak. With Mars sextiling Chiron, you're also coordinating your vibe you want in life with healing past mistakes. On Thursday, it's sunny and tenacious. Step 17 means Saturn rules the day. The moon is now in Aquarius, so you are emotionally detached. This is the day where you will go ahead and commit to this new soul timeline. It will be a unilateral commitment. And with Juno trining Jupiter, you're also figuring out how you're going to pay for this lifestyle. And then on Friday, it's sunny and eager. Step 18 means that Mars rules the day. This is the day to get moving with this new life and timeline. You're putting the new timeline in motion. You are charging forward. And with Mercury conjoining Neptune, you have just reframed your destiny.
It's serious joy, joy, joy.
If you're watching on YouTube, please be kind and do subscribe to our YouTube channel, Serious Joy TV. Hit the bell button so you're notified. And if you don't mind, please like this video right now. Hit that smash button because you will trigger the algorithm of YouTube to share us with other people who enjoy astrology. Namaste Today Live is sponsored by SeriousJoy.com, where we currently have the 40 days of past lives and karma. And people are telling me this is phenomenal. I'm so happy to hear that. We're diving deep. What we're doing is, in the first 11 days of this program, we've been doing journal exercises about your childhood. But what's unique about that is I'm using the approach of each of the 12 planets, 12 signs or 12 states of awareness, to sort of section off that section of your childhood, which is really great because you can dive deep but not be as easily triggered. So not only are we looking to our past lives, we're looking into our childhood and healing our childhood. We also have daily journal prompts. As I mentioned, we have some extra chart explorations coming up. In the next few days, we're going to now look at some specific karmic planets in the natal charts of our subscribers. And I'm going to give you some of my proprietary algorithms I use in readings to decode the past lives in your chart. Trust me, it's all written in the stars. We also have an amazing Angel Connection series with Devin Doer. We have a dodecahedron activation, say that 5 times, with sound healer Kristen Ryder. We have karmic release lunar ceremonies with artisan Joe Zammit, and Robbie Hunt is doing special metaphysical features. This is a comprehensive program. It costs less than $24 if you sign up for $3.99, and it's still going strong at SeriousJoy.com. I'll have more details after the show. All right, friends, we are in the midst of a deep Pisces transit. It's now time for our planets and transits. Welcome to Planets and Transits. This is the segment where I get super deep on everything going on. We're going to cover the major themes, where all the planets are, all the step numbers, and all the transits, as well as I will show you astrological key important charts. So this is a 5-course meal, basically, that you get here for free. By the way, this is my 18th year live on YouTube. I actually was the first astrologer to go live on YouTube in October 2006. I'm very proud of that legacy. And I'm saying we're just now getting started. Thanks to everyone who's recently joined our services. Thanks to the people who've recently found and subscribed to us. We're so grateful to have you as part of our family. And we're at the dawn of the age of Aquarius because you could not have found us at a more perfect time. I don't know about you, but I've been between worlds since the sun moved into Pisces. This has been a heavier Pisces than I had imagined. Heavier in the sense of I'm more lethargic. I'm super tired. I'm losing a sense of space-time. I don't know if you have been, but I'll look at the clock and literally it'll be like 2 hours later and I'll be like, where the hell did the time go? So I'm definitely doing some weird timeline jumps. In fact, I actually think, I don't know about you, and this would be a good question for our polls if Noel's listening. If anyone has experienced a timeline jump this week, a timeline jump. Now, a timeline jump, let's get a little deep here for a second. Let's go down the rabbit hole of Pisces, shall we? From what I understand, when I say from what I understand, I'm referring to all my private studies. I'm always studying all the other people out there who are out preaching and broadcasting. I've been sort of interested in this field since I was a kid. Actually, my parents, I'll tell a little story right here. Gather around, children, gather around. When I was a kid, my parents took me to this alternative church in Southern California. I don't remember the name of the church, but the guy in charge of the church wasn't a priest or a minister. He was a psychic. His name was Damien. And this church rented out like an old Denny's or something. It was like a restaurant. So we sat in a booth, basically, and we didn't order food. And Damien would go in the back and meditate and then come out and he would just channel what he had learned about the week. And this was like in 1970, probably six, maybe seven, 1977, I think was it. And I remember Damien was so nice. He'd always stop by the table and say hi and shake all of our hands, including all the kids. I, of course, was the oldest. And I can remember to this day, I said to myself, I want to be Damien one day. And it's so funny because I kind of have. I mean, I had forgotten about it, of course, through college years and everything else. I had a lot of other things, but it just came to my realization recently that my goodness, I ended up becoming that as I saw it. And my mom and dad went to for a while, but then it sort of disbanded or whatever, typical Southern California kind of hippie in the 70s stuff. But I now wonder, and I've said to my mom, I'm like, do you think we went to that church just so I could know what I was meant to be when I grew up? Because it completely shaped me. But nonetheless, here we are. And so when I say I've been thinking about these types of things for a long time, I'm not kidding. I grew up in a very esoteric family. My dad believed in the Force. He was trying to teach us how to use the Force. I'm not kidding. We had telepathy games as a kid. We had to meditate as children. My mom would force us to go into meditations. I'd always fall asleep. We really had an esoteric childhood, and I knew about astrology my whole life. My mom was a beautician. She was always warning me to stay away from Scorpios, don't take Virgos too personally, things like that, seriously. But I digress. My point is I've been studying this idea of consciousness and multiple realities my entire life. It's been the topic around our Thanksgiving table in the Witeckis my whole life. And I've been thinking about what it really is and how does it really work? And my latest understanding from all the studies I've done is that it's not that we manifest reality. So that was where I had it incorrect. I thought we manifested reality. It's not that. It's that we create a belief structure that creates a foundation of a vibration. So our beliefs create a certain vibration. For instance, if you believe you're about to die, there's a frequency to that. If you believe you're about to fly, there's a frequency to that. And so we up and down our frequency. And as we up and down our frequency, we actually shift timelines. And so timelines, from what I understand, is that whatever heaven is, whatever the afterlife is, whatever creator is, every single solitary thing that could ever happen in life, everything has already been created by a creator. Every single possibility. You ending up alone, you ending up dead, you ending up married, you ending up in a cult, you ending up in Nebraska, same thing. Just kidding, Nebraska. But my point is that every single timeline has been already thought of, and they all have a different channel or frequency in God's creation. So it's not that we actually manifest a new reality. It's that we're constantly changing channels. We're constantly tuning into different channels. And from what I understand, like I've been watching Bashar a lot lately, really digging his work. I know he's been around forever. I keep saying this. I just found him. Isn't that funny? He wasn't in my old timeline. I guess let's put it that way. He wasn't in my old timeline. He's just now entered my new timeline. So maybe, I don't know. Now I'm getting really quantum. Maybe it isn't even timelines. You know, maybe this timeline thing is only true on this timeline. I don't know. But my point is that we change timelines, and apparently we change timelines from minute to minute, basically, from second to second. And what I've come to realize is I've really been through Aquarius. I really started to pay attention to the nano energy of the moment. I've been really just sort of paying attention. And, the only time I paid attention to the nano of the moment was like when I was a kid during the summer. Do you remember, like, I don't know about y'all, but like summer was so slow. There was nothing to do. I'm from Gen X. My parents would kick me outside, like, get outside. I don't care what you're doing. Just get out of the house. My mom would scream. So all three of us would be stuck out, usually on the porch. Yes, drinking out of a hose, all those cliches. Yes, water was good out of a hose, let me tell you. And I remember just listening to the summer bugs, bored as hell. And I would feel my energy shifting, and I would sort of feel my perspective shifting behind my eyes. And I thought I was playing a game with myself. I really did. Fast forward to this week and the last month, I've been paying attention to just the little moments. And I think I can see and feel when a timeline shifts. One of the things that happens is I'll get a different pitch in my ear. That's one of the symptoms I'll have, like my ear will ring to a weird pitch, or the pitch will shift. If it was ringing, it'll shift to ringing. One will be suddenly my heart or emotions will shift. I've used this example lots of times. There used to be times, for instance, where I would think of something, it would make me upset, and I would start feeling bad about it. And I would be so caught in the feeling bad, I actually forgot, what was it that made me upset again? I got so caught up in the feeling. I got so caught up in the timeline. Well, the astrology says that regardless of what you think about as far as these little timelines in the moment, and I do feel like we go through them. In fact, another example is, have you ever been just having a good time, like at the table, and everyone's laughing and having a good time, and then all of a sudden everyone's just like, everyone just sort of shifts, and like the energy just sort of shifts, or when energy shifts itself. Now I'm thinking, is it that energy shifts, or is it that we shift timelines? Do we shift into a new conscious channel that we go down? Whatever the case, the planets show that we are in fact shifting a major super highway timeline right now. A real thick trunk line, if you will, a major timeline shift. And this timeline shift really, I think, has many chords going into it. And some of these chords I know from the cycles of the planets, for instance. And I've said this many times before, but I haven't said it from perspective of timelines. To some degree, the planets are always shifting our frequencies, shifting and thereby shifting our timelines, or stirring the pot, or encouraging timelines. And right now in 2024, we happen to be coming full circle in many, many cycles. We have, of course, Pluto, which has just clicked back to the same place it was in the American Revolutionary War. So we're basically in sort of a synchronicity with George Washington right now. Neptune is going to shift into the same place it was at the beginning of the Civil War in the United States in 1860. That'll happen in Aries, or in April. Uranus has shifted to the place it was in World War II. So we have at least three major trunk lines that are all coming together at the same time. And I believe this is part of what the wheels of karma are, the turn around, what comes around goes around, what comes around goes around. That idea of what comes around goes around literally is the planets coming and going, coming and going. It's literally stirring and stirring around the earth. But at this moment, because we have these three major trunk lines coming together, and on top of that, we have a mega timeline, which is the age where the earth is tilted. So the earth is currently coming out of the age of Pisces and moving into the age of Aquarius. And that transition is about 100 years, but we're at the dawn of that age right now, about 100, 150 years from now, plus or minus. So we have all these different timelines coming together. And it all comes down to, really, that's the weather of the whole solar system and universe. But you individually, right now, as of today, I talked about this yesterday, have just completed a timeline shift with yourself. And this timeline shift with yourself, I honestly believe, is you completing your age of Pisces timeline. I now have come to realize in my own witnessing, this is the age of Pisces timeline, I believe, that we've come full circle on. And what that timeline is with ourself. In other words, you have been treating yourself, beating yourself up, ignoring yourself, abandoning yourself, praising yourself, getting yourself killed, getting yourself in trouble, getting yourself married with so many kids you don't know what to do with, all these different timelines, where you have developed a certain rapport with yourself. And what's happened in the last year with Saturn in the early degrees of Pisces, because Saturn's in the early degrees of Pisces, while Neptune's in the high degrees of Pisces at the same time, holding space to open up the new timeline, Saturn has come down at the bottom of Pisces to close out the old timeline. This is the big timeline shift that's happening right now. And what I was getting to as I opened the show was that I could swear to God I felt the timeline shift this week. In fact, I was just telling one of my colleagues, something happened in my computer in the last 24 hours, something really weird where my computer shifted to East Coast time, but my phone shifted to Hawaii time. And I'm on a Mac. They're synced on a Mac. Now maybe that was Apple or something, but it was making all my programs mess up. So when I was chatting like in WhatsApp and stuff, it was sending it back in time. So my messages were going back in time. Like I'd send it, it would jump back like 4 or 5 strings ahead in the conversation. And I had other programs that was jumping where it was jumping ahead in time. Like it was going to actually be accurate in 2 hours. And I was feeling really weird. Like my body was feeling messed up. I was feeling heavy, feeling sick, having a hard time concentrating. I have so many deadlines right now because it's the end of the month, the mega monthlies and 40 days of past lives and karma and this show and all this stuff. So I've been, I could not be a worse time to lose signal, but I've been in and out, blinking in and out. And on top of that, I've been so sleepy and my dreams have been so vivid and so strange. I've been too lazy to get up and write them down. But I have done this trick. I don't know if you remember, we had a dream expert on here a few weeks ago, and she gave this tip where she said, set your alarm early and then set the snooze to be 30 minutes later. And she says you'll dream in the middle. You'll continue the dream in the middle of that snooze. That so works. I have been extending my dreams for the last 10 days or something. Lori Lowenberg, thank you very much. I couldn't remember her name. It's because she's on another timeline. Sorry, Lori, you're in another timeline. But I would have looked you up after the show. I was drawing blank. I was seeing her beautiful red hair, but I wasn't seeing her name. But anyways, so I have been experiencing this, and I'm wondering too if you all have been experiencing this heaviness, the lethargy, just feeling sort of pulled down, because I do think that we are between worlds. And I'm really curious. I mean, my biggest curiosity, and I have no idea, we're on this great space coaster together, by the way, but I'm wondering, which is the Earth zipping around the sun, the great space coaster. I'm sort of wondering, do we get to change? Like, can I get who I want for president and you get for who you want for president? Is that the way it works? I'm just curious because obviously I think we're all fed up with how the world is going right now. It definitely needs some sort of a change. And I'll just speak to that right now. Part of the reason why the world is falling apart right now is because you're coming together, because human beings are starting to come together. The truth is that we have been since 2012 healing our inner self and facing our karma with ourself. And, I think when I say facing karma, it sounds like a bigger deal than it is. It really is just learning from our mistakes, frankly. If you want to just simplify it, make it simple nomenclature, we're just learning from our mistakes. We've been learning from our mistakes. And once you learn from your mistakes, you tend to not repeat them, right? You tend to not repeat them again. And since 2012, this has been happening. So we've been fixing our errors. Now, I believe that in past lives, our consciousness was too crunched. It was too dense for us to sort of get that bigger picture, unless you took like ayahuasca or, or whatever the other one was, cactus, peyote or something like that, or mushrooms or something. You probably never got outside of your own consciousness. So we're in very dense consciousness. Alcohol doesn't get you out of your own consciousness. It gets you out of your faculties, but it doesn't like have you look at yourself from a higher perspective. So my point is we haven't really been able to stand back and look at ourselves from this other perspective for all these lifetimes until 2012, unless you did, psychedelics, right? That's the other way. And so since then we've been starting to see like, the patterns and so once you see the pattern and you see that opportunity come back again, you go, oh, not this time. I'm stepping off that crazy carousel. I'm not going to do that. So you step off that and you avoid it. And so as you do that, you close the karma loop. You no longer do it. Remember, karma is closed by how you respond to the repetition. So my point is I believe this is just a theory, and I'll talk to my buddy Scott today when he comes on. I believe that the reason why the world is falling apart is because we've been coming together, because the world is a reflection of who we are. And this world that we currently have built was super dysfunctional, built on us being super dysfunctional and asleep, basically asleep and incapable of seeing the patterns. And so I believe what's happening is because we are ending the patterns inside of us and opting out of the ride, opting off of the merry-go-round of karma, of cause and effect, we are in fact coming together on the inside. And so we are no longer able to support these dysfunctional timelines in the outer world. And I think they're starting to fall away. That's my official opinion as of today. But as I mentioned, we are between a major timeline shift. Saturn now has reached a point where it's at step 9 and step 10. In fact, does it go to step 10 this week? I'm so lost in time. My timeline. Yeah, we're at step 10. I had to look at my notes. Can't remember because I do mega monthlies where I'm thinking for the whole month and everything else. Saturn's at 10 and Saturn has cleared all of the early degrees. Saturn's not going to retrograde below this. That means that if you haven't figured out your loop-de-loops inside yourself by now, you're going to get caught in the winds of stuff going on in the outer world. And unless you take special time and attention to focus on yourself, the train is moving on. We're moving on now to facing our karma. Now, for this month of March, I just recorded the mega monthlies. They'll be live here probably tomorrow on my site. I've been a little behind because I've had so much coming on and I've been cross-eyed from timeline shifting, timeline jumping. But month, I am titling this month, Launching the Way. In the month of March, we are going to launch the way, all right? And launch the way means the way we're going to learn, the way we're going to experience, the way we're going to meet our destiny. So the way it may be a literal plot thing. The way may be through marriage. The way may be through enterprise. The way may be through teaching. We won't know the details. We're not going to know the Virgo. We're setting the arc. We're setting the skeleton. It won't be until probably Virgo 6 months from now that you know the way, like you know the details of the way, but we know it's this way and not that way. That's basically what's going to happen in the month of March. The month of March is going to be a quiet month, by the way, very quiet. There's 1 week that has 2 aspects, and one's an ingress and one's a moon. So it's really quiet this month. And that's good. I think that quiet is to go within. And basically, we're going to launch the way and we're going to accept our role. That's the subplot of the week, accepting my role. Going to figure out, yes, Lori, bypass Albuquerque. I just caught that. In other words, we're going to come to realize, I think this month, that you're the one that needs to do this. You know, a lot of times, and I can go off on, I'm in Pisces land right now. Welcome, pour a mocktail. Let's have a chat. There's probably lots of times in your life where you've said you've been watching TV or something with someone in the family and you're like, you know, somebody should do this, somebody should do this, somebody should do that. I wish someone would do this. I wish someone would accomplish that. And I think this month you're going to go, damn it, I think that someone is me. Shift. I think you're going to realize, I think it's me. I think I need to accept that I'm the one. The reason why I'm the only one who sees it is because I'm the one who's supposed to do it. And so I think that a lot of people are going to very quietly realize that they are the answer that they seek, that it's their role to play. That's why you saw it this whole time. That's why you kept shooting all over people. You should do this and you should do that. And you should shooting all over everyone. When in reality, you're the one that should. So I think this is going to be a month of recognition, quiet awareness. By the way, enjoy this quiet month because come April, it's off the hook. It's off the hook. In fact, things really launch in April and May. This summer, which is what I'm talking with Scott Cruz about, we're going to do a tag team for all 12 signs tonight. We're going to talk about all 12 signs and that this might be the summer of love. I have a theory that this summer is the summer that people are going to hook up. The light workers are going to find their true love between this summer and next summer. But I think this is going to be the summer, the big summer that it launches. So I think we have a crazy summer of distraction. And then I think shift really hits the fan in September. And that basically it's just a total mess energetically from September. I'm not being negative. I just think it's just going to be like in a sandstorm from September until I think May of next year, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to go look a little bit more closely, but it's just crazy. We have a Mars retrograde at the end of the year, so it's hurry up and wait. So all these things change, and then it's hurry up and wait. There's some sort of climax around the election, some major climax, because there's a lot of karma that happens right after the election, the national election here in the United States, and then Mars retrogrades, which means that we're sitting around waiting for something. And there's like this huge anticipation of what's going to happen. So crazy anticipation over the holidays this year. It's really interesting. If you want the whole year, by the way, I did a whole webinar. It's Countdown to 2024. You can get that at senseiChristopher.com. Just throwing it out there. So I digress a little bit, but that's part of the fun of Pisces. This month, we are launching the way and accepting our role. But this week, if we want to get to this week's theme is opting in spiritual timelines, opting into spiritual timelines. That's what we're doing. Basically, new timelines. And I say spiritual because it's not, spiritual is the essence. So opting in means you will be offered, something's going to go knock, knock, and you're going to go, who's there? And they're going to say fate. And you're going to say, who? Faith Hill? No, fate. And energetically, you're going to go, oh, shift. I knew that come knocking one day, that opportunity, that idea that this could happen or that could happen. And there'll be that typical Steven Spielberg rack focus shot where he zooms in and pushes out at the same time. So the whole background goes crazy. And you'll have this realization of like, oh my gosh, I'm the one that's supposed to do that. And so opting in means that we're going to say in our heart, God damn it, I guess I have to do that. I know I have to do that. I know I was born to do that. And part of you is going to say, damn it, because something in you knew it was going to be that, but we've been so distracted with our problems and our own personal dramas because we came here with a boatload of spiritual baggage that we had to clear and check onto another Spirit airline. I'll never fly Spirit, by the way, but that's a side tangent. That we were so caught up in that we just sort of like put those ideas away. We just tried not to think about them. They didn't matter. It was going to be someday. That might happen someday. Guess what? Someday is this week. This week is someday. Someday where you realize, wow, this is the day. This is the day where I need to get started. So I think I think that's why it's a quiet month. I think we're all going to be a little stunned. I think a little lost for words. In one way, it's very exciting because your heart really wants it. That's why you signed up for it. But on the other hand, it might be a little terrifying because it's going to, whatever the mission is, you know, you're going to have to grow into this role. You know, you're going to have to be stronger and stand taller than you've ever stood before. You know, you're going to have to really, aim to win and really focus and bring the best out of yourself. I think honestly that, my grandma talks about life before World War II, and it's almost like a dream. Like nothing really existed before World War II. Once World War II hit my grandma and my grandpa, it was so terrible, terrifying, intense. My grandparents knew each other, but he went away and left her behind. So every night she's worried that he's going to die, that sort of thing. She's doing work. She's working the workforce like a woman, typical Rosie Rivets kind of woman, my grandma. But when they look back before World War II, it's almost like it was a dream. Like you look at kindergarten now. I think we're drawing a line in our timeline sand right now. And I don't know, nothing bad has happened like World War II yet. I need to take a sip of tea. Nothing bad has happened like that, but I really think that, as far as the line of World War II, March 2024 is that line. Everything that happened prior to March 2024, you're going to barely remember. You're just not going to be a part of your story. It won't be what you tell your grandkids. You won't talk about it very much. It'll just sort of be in your scrapbooks. It'll be once upon a time. It'll seem far away. That's my prediction, that we're about to go through such a major timeline shift that we're barely going to recognize. It's going to be like our old life will be like sepia colored. It won't even seem like it had happened. It'll be like a dream, basically. Now, the subplot of this week, after opting into spiritual timelines, is coordinating manifest potential. So we are coordinating our manifest potential. What that means is you have this realization and this vision, but then at the same time you go, well, can I pull that off? Like, is that possible? Is that really feasible? And the good news is Uranus says, it sure is. That you just happen to be at the right time, at the right place in space-time on Earth, where yes, it is possible. So this comes from many planets interacting with Uranus this week. Venus squares Uranus on Sunday. Mercury sextiles Uranus on Monday. Mars squares Uranus on Saturday. So it's all these checking in with Uranus at 19 degrees Taurus, which is a grandmaster degree of Taurus. Whenever a planet's at a grandmaster degree, it sets the definition of what's possible. So we are dialing in what's possible, which means something that may have seemed impossible will now appear possible this week. So, never say never, especially now. There's no such thing as never, really, in God's creation. And right now, anything can go. Now, the key question of the week is, what is my new reality? What is my new reality? And I've been really experiencing this a lot myself. Now, coming full circle to this week, we all had a major realization this week. And I wonder if you came to this realization, if you came to a timeline shift. I've been talking about this in my personal Sensei service. I get much more personal in my service because it's a closed community and, it's not all over the internet for people to hear. So I open up a bit more at home at Serious Joy. And I was talking and sharing a little bit about where my shift has happened. And I'll just share to the public, like the shift that I've had happen is I realized my entire life, I've never loved myself first. I've always loved myself eventually, but not first. I always fed everyone else first, took care of everyone else first. And really, I was loving myself by helping the world because I was doing it to get it back. I wanted people to be happy. I want my family to be happy so I can live in a happy family. It wasn't just I want to see them happy. It's that I want to live in a happy household. I want to be around joyful people. I want to have fun. So there was a very selfish motive of trying to make the world happy, but I should have made myself happy first. That's my big realization, which is so simple, right? Isn't it funny how the simple things get right under you? Especially if you're intelligent. If you're intelligent, one thing I've learned, you tend to complicate things way beyond they need to be complicated. It's almost too intelligent for your own good. There's something very peaceful about not overthinking it. But my point is to the key question of the week, what is my new reality? My new reality is I'm loving myself first. And so I'm changing priorities. Whereas before I would sacrifice things like my sleep or my food or other things, I'm now actually going back and saying to people, I'm going to have to turn that in a little late. This isn't going to be delivered when I thought I could have it delivered. There's just little things. And yes, I've overpromised and underdelivered. Didn't mean to do that, but it only turned out that way because halfway through my promise, I realized I need to love myself first. So my new reality is that I come first. What's your new reality? I think everyone's going to have a new reality this week. I'd love to hear about it. Put it in the comments if you can. I'd love to see it in the video. What's your new reality? See this as a way of affirming. Like tell the whole world what your new reality is and post it right here under the video on Serious Joy's channel and on YouTube. Oh, people are saying it. Yay, that's cool. All right. So with that said, let's take a look at the planets and start with what's in Pisces for this week. You can see I'm just kind of sort of winging it this week, which is good. I mean, I'm totally prepared, but my energy is just in and out. Right now, we have a lot of planets in Pisces: Mercury, the Sun, Saturn, and Neptune. The Sun this week goes from step 12 to step 18. So the 11th degree, which is where we are today, 11, 11, 11, in my step system, 11 is I love, I love, I love, I love. That's what 11 is. 11, 11. I love, I love, I love, I love. I love, I love, I love, I love is actually the foundation of reality. So 11, 11 in my world is the foundation of reality. And so now that this is the foundation of the outer world. So from step 12, we're talking about everything in our outer world, all the way to step 18. 18 is the step that you act. So basically, this week, you're going to explore your outer world to see the karmic patterns in your outer world. And this is something I explained in last week's show. But now I'll use my life as an example. Now that I'm going to love myself first and then feed someone second, which just means I serve myself and then serve the world. Okay. Maybe not at a formal dinner, but otherwise I will. That changes everything. Now everything in my world has a different priority. Now suddenly I'm not worried about this. Now this becomes more important. So my priorities change as far as what comes first and what doesn't. Certain relationships change because honestly, certain relationships have been give, 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 give. And you reach a point where you're like, this isn't working. Like I've been doing nothing but giving in this relationship. And I don't know if I'm serving someone by enabling them by always giving and never having a reciprocated relationship. So I think relationships are going to change. I think priorities are going to change. I think investments of my resources are going to change. I think uses of my time are going to change. Everything in my life is going to change because I've reached this new reality inside myself. And I've reached this new point inside myself where I'm going to love myself first and ask questions second. So this week, the heart is realizing that now that you have new karma with yourself, a new timeline with yourself, this is the timeline where Chris loves himself first. That's the timeline I chose where I love myself first. My Mars is at 1 degree Pisces, by the way, which literally is act on loving yourself first. So my chart tried to give me a clue. I didn't pay attention. And energetically, and I always knew it the whole time, but I just kind of like didn't think about it. Let's just not think about that Mars placement. Everything in my daily life is now going to change because the root structure that all those things were based on, I've pulled up those roots now out of my soul garden and I planted new roots. So what you're going to see this week is that you're going to be making a lot of changes in your life based on your new timeline. And so things are going to be mixed around and moved around. It's sort of like rearranging the furniture in your house. Now, Mercury, which is our mind, goes from step 15 to step 26. So your mind's going to think through daily life and go all the way up to, or I should go this way, all the way up to what is going to be the goal, step 26. So basically aiming for a new destiny. And then really Mercury conjuncts Neptune, and that happens on, I'm getting ahead of myself, actually on Friday. So Mercury conjuncts Neptune on Friday. Neptune's down here, right here. So Mercury goes from here all the way to here, basically. And when it conjuncts Neptune at the end of the week, that's the point when your mind will sign off and go, okay, this is where I'm headed. I realize I'm heading this way. I'm heading in this direction, this timeline. I'm going this way, not that way. So this week, we pretty much calculate where we're going to go. Now, Saturn at step 10 means that we are officially manifesting this new karmic timeline with ourself. And that karmic timeline is, once again, in my case, that I love myself first. You have your karmic timeline too. I'd love to hear about it in the comments below the video. Now, in Aquarius, oh, by the way, Neptune goes to step 27 by the end of the week. I should have said that, which means that we're not only, thank you for taking it back, Sarah. Not only are we committing to this new timeline, but we move into first gear. Neptune moves into step 27 on Thursday. So by Thursday, the new destiny kicks into gear. And it's on Thursday that we hit step 17 with the sun. So basically, isn't this amazing with the steps? On Thursday, we commit to the new daily life. And then as soon as we commit to the new daily life, then boom, Neptune goes to 27, which means, okay, let's go forward with the new destiny. So basically by Thursday, you are committing to the new life. And then at that point, your new destiny goes forward. And then Mercury conjuncts Neptune at 27 degrees, which means we then say, okay, I'm committed to this direction. So basically you're going to opt into the new spiritual timeline. That's what this means. Okay, now let's go back to Aquarius. So in Aquarius, we do have Pluto at step 1, which this might be what have triggered me. Pluto at step 1 says your lowest frequency possible is self-love. Okay. So Pluto is forcing the lowest frequency to go higher. All right. So, basically Pluto is raising rock bottom. So rock bottom is now, I love myself. That's rock bottom. Rock bottom is I just love myself. And you can be sitting in the middle of an alley, hurting, coming off of drugs, having had no money, be starving to death, and still love yourself. Okay. So loving yourself doesn't mean success, doesn't mean you're doing anything with it. But rock bottom is you must now love yourself. Notice Sensei waited till he was commanded by Pluto to love himself first. Okay. That's how stubborn I am. I wait on that Titanic until the very last lifeboat. That's just how I am. Venus goes from 18 degrees Aquarius to 25 degrees Aquarius. So that means we're going to open up now to our life going to a higher frequency and a higher vibration. Higher vibration simply means less noise, less pain, less irritation, less distraction. So the entire frequency goes to a higher realm. And Mars goes from 14 to 18. So very interesting. Mars starts at the mid, says, okay, my relationships need to go to a higher vibration. Mars is the enforcer. So Venus sort of like kind of seduces, opens you up, gets you ready, warms you up, and then Mars closes the deal. So basically you could say by the end of the week, Mars will be at step 18, Venus will be at step 25. So we will have raised our vibration to the realm of 18 to 25 Aquarius. That's where our vibe is going to be, between 18 and 25 Aquarius. All right. And that basically is a lifestyle vibration and the direction your future is pointed. So you're basically going to have your daily life at a higher vibe by the end of the week, which means you're feeling lighter, you're whistling more, you're worrying less, you're feeling lighter, your body's feeling lighter, you're needing less substances, you're less hungry, your sleep is lighter. Everything just starts to get lighter as the week goes on. And at bare minimum, we know all of our behavior, 18 is behavior. All of your behavior now has been brought up to a higher vibration. Now, by the way, just as an aside, just because you go to this higher vibration doesn't mean you can't slip lower again, but you're below, if that makes sense. So really, when we say we're raising our vibration, we're raising our marks, like where our baselines are. We're raising the baseline of all these things. So most of the time you operate within the baseline, within that frequency. Sometimes you could fall lower, but when you're lower, you're low. It's not like it becomes the new normal. So by raising frequency, we're raising the new normal. And you can slip out of that normal, but you've slipped out and where normal is because you've now raised what normal is. And that's what Mars and Venus are doing. And Pluto is holding ground at rock bottom. By the way, Pluto only goes as high as 2 this year. That's it. It goes only as high as 2, but that's all it needs to go to. Now, coming with the moon this week goes from Sagittarius to Capricorn to Aquarius to Pisces. It is in Sagittarius. Is it in Sagittarius right now? I got to look and see. I don't even know. Are we in Sag now? Yeah, we're in Sag now. So I think I'm feeling that actually because I'm feeling like goofing off, not working. The moon in Sag means that you're going to be exploring your story, exploring your beliefs. Like, what should I do? What is the best way? What is, that was quite a trip I went through, so sort of when the moon's in Sagittarius, like sort of a trip down memory lane, lots of exploring of ideas and beliefs. And as we go through the weekend, we go from step 12 tomorrow. So we start to open up to a new belief tomorrow. Like, okay, well, now that I got this settled with myself, what's possible in my life? What could I do in my life? Come Sunday, step 13, we hit step 13. Sunday is when you have a real wake-up call to go, whoa, now that I'm loving myself first, there's a lot of stuff that's going to change. There's a lot of things that aren't going to make it on the docket. So Sunday is quite a day, and the moon's in Sag on Sunday. So you realize, wow, my life is changing. That's Sunday. Come Monday, we hit step 14 and we start to realize, okay, I guess this is the way it's going to have to go. The moon crosses the galactic center on Monday in Sagittarius. So you sort of turn in your homework to the galactic center. Whenever the moon crosses the galactic center, I believe that we kind of communicate with creation and we go, okay, creation, this is what my flight plan is. So we file our flight plan whenever the moon crosses the galactic center. That's Monday. Then the moon goes into Capricorn on Monday. So Monday, you're like, all right, let's get to business, because my life's not going to be the same now that I'm loving myself first. Again, I keep using myself as an example, right? So it's really all about business on Monday, step 14. On Tuesday, step 14, you realize, okay, this is what's going to have to happen. On Wednesday, step 16, you're like praying to God, is this the right thing? Are we sure I'm really going to make these cuts? I'm really going to make these changes? Then the moon goes into Aquarius once you commit on Wednesday. At that point, when the moon's in Aquarius, you start to feel, oh my gosh, vibration changing. So I predict with the moon in Aquarius on Thursday and Friday, most of Friday, you're going to basically be feeling the timeline shift. So whereas we sort of felt the timeline shift in the last 2 days in our inner self, when we went to Scorpio the last couple days, that's when I really felt the shift was when the moon was in Scorpio. This week, you'll see your daily life timeline shift probably on Thursday and Friday of next week. So next week, we'll be in a different timeline when we come back on the air, just like we are this week. When it comes to fears, Black Moon Lilith, she moves from step 16 to step 17 this week. She moves to 17 actually on Sunday. 17 is when you commit to a lifestyle. So for the whole week, you're facing fears around committing to a lifestyle. In the same week that you're changing your lifestyle. You can't write this shift. Seriously. It's just so perfectly timed. It's pretty amazing. So facing fears over commitment. All right. That's easy. That's to be expected. We'll talk about commitment again here when we go into Aries. In Taurus, which is our manifest potential, Jupiter this week goes from 11 to 12 degrees, which is awesome. Jupiter has sextiled the sun actually in the last 24 hours. 11 means that your soul capital or your self-worth is in integrity. 11, I love myself. I love myself. So the 2 11s is when you have the foundation of reality put in, love and love. Okay. Jupiter going to 12 means grandmaster. So 12 is a grandmaster degree for Jupiter. That means that you will begin to change your beliefs about what is possible to manifest. So you may not have thought it was possible to manifest a mortgage approval. You might not have thought it was possible to manifest a job that pays more than your dad was paid. You might have thought it was not possible to manifest, the retirement of your dreams. But you're going to change your mind about that this week. What's possible changes. What's possible changes. And here's the weird twist. It's all because I'm loving myself first. It's all because you changed and closed the loop with your karma with yourself that you changed what was possible. You'll see for yourself. Don't take my word for it. Live your life and come back and comment. Now, Uranus stays at cool step 19 Taurus. I can't remember. Robbie Hunt, who works on our team, had looked up how many days Uranus was at 19 degrees. I think it was like 97 or something. I think it was in the 90s. It's been at 19 since I can remember. I don't even remember it at 18, which was my sun. It's been at 19. So I'm glad it's off my sun because I was gone and off the air. But 19 is, again, programming. It's the grandmaster degree of Taurus. It's programming your manifest potential. This is Uranus in 19 is what Venus squares Uranus on Sunday, Mercury sextiles it on Monday. Next Saturday, Mars squares Uranus. So we keep reconciling, raising the bar of our manifest potential, going to a higher potential. This is what's possible. This is how high it can go, pretty much. And you know what's funny is Jupiter is the energy of wide. So Jupiter makes things go wide, and Uranus makes things go up. So the fact that Jupiter and Uranus are both in Taurus, we're expanding reality in width and we are expanding reality in dimensional height at the same time. Pretty cool, huh? And then lastly, the sign of Aries. In Aries, Chiron is at step 17. So remember I said with Black Moon Lilith, you're facing fears of commitment. Chiron says we're healing karma around commitment. So you're going to basically commit to do something that you swore you would never do, or you once did and failed at. Okay, so you should probably be committing to something you said you'd never do, or something you once did and said you would never do again. Never say never. It's a word that pretty much means it's going to happen. Actually, it's kind of weird because what you resist is what persists. The North Node in 16 degrees Aries is still there for another week. And what it's basically saying is that we are now headed towards our new spiritual timeline. 16 nets to a 7. That is our timeline, our spiritual timeline. And so as we, heal, having committed to the wrong thing, we are at the same time heading towards the new spiritual daily life timeline. So there's a timeline you were meant to live in daily life that is tied to the day that you got. And the way this works is up in heaven, it basically said, when little Chris realizes he needs to love himself first, then this new life is going to open up next. And so what you're going to realize is that new life is opening up now that you have met that basic karmic principle with yourself. All righty. That's the planets. Okay. Well, I think that begs the question. It's now time to talk about you. Go steep yourself some tea, my friend. Let's have our weekly tea time. Yeah, I just realized I didn't do the transits at the top of the show, so we're gonna do that here at the top of tea time. I tell you guys, I'm between timelines. I totally am. I'm like, it's been like this the whole week. I've been like outside, standing up on my car, like, what's missing here? It's like, oh, my keys. Like I got like coffee and all my stuff, and I don't have my keys. Like it's been a whole week of that. Let's take a look at the actual of the aspects going on here, and we'll just make up for it right now. I'm going to share my screen and show you some of the planets. That just shows you I'm anxious to go have free time now that I love myself first. So keep streaming. My buddy Scott Cruz is coming on, psychic medium, best psychic medium I've ever met, by the way. So incredibly talented. We're going to be talking about the summer of love and some other astro gossip going on here in Astro Mingle just around the corner. So I wanted to show a couple of things here for the week, and then we'll go into the actual horoscopes. This is tomorrow, step 12, just showing you that we have this stellium going on in Pisces. At step 12, that's when we open up to the reality and we're starting to accept that life needs to change. Neptune is step 26. We're committing to what that destiny is going to be. And remember, as I mentioned, Neptune will hit step 27 on Thursday. So again, the new timeline opens up on Thursday. The moon will be in Aquarius at that time. Venus squares Uranus. This happens on Sunday. So here's Venus at 19 Aquarius. Here's Uranus at 19 Taurus. This square is a reconciling. Basically, it's you opening up to the vibration of your abundance. So you have to start to go ahead and wear that artificial fur coat on Friday. You want to start to feel that new potential. Okay. You want to start strutting your stuff. I actually played Staying Alive this week for Serious Joy, one of our songs of the week, because I felt like we're starting to strut our stuff. So come Sunday, you come to realize, and that's also today, it's a step 13 day on Sunday. So expect a time warp on Sunday. Something's going to shift or blink in and out of existence, and you're going to realize that there's a greater potential. You may have, it's very possible you have underestimated your worth and your potential. Okay. Very possible, because your potential and your worth was all calibrated around your karmic hang up with yourself. Now that you remove that, everything changes. Also on Sunday, the sun opposes Juno at 13. This is why I think there will be a timeline shift on Sunday. I think this is a portal opening, and I actually think a portal closes Thursday, Friday. So I think between Sunday and Thursday, we're sort of between timelines, in and out. And that's what I have found, actually, if I wasn't being very clear, because I've been in and out myself of timelines. There'll be moments where you're in the old world where everything sucks, and then moments when you're in the new timeline where everything's great. But this opposition to Juno is what we make friends with. And basically, this is a shift here. At 13, to have an opposition at 13, this is spirit and this is reality. 13 is a number between realities. And so I'm expecting us to be between realities here. This actually is at 1 p.m. exactly East Coast time on Sunday. So you might want to pull over for a few minutes if you're driving some heavy machinery. The next thing is Monday, March 4th. We have Mars sextile the North Node, Mars at 16 degrees Aquarius. Remember, Mars is, Venus is opening up to the new frequency. Mars is stepping up to that frequency and owning it. Mars sextiles to the North Node at 16. So this is basically coordinating the way. Don't know if you ever watched Mandalorian, but it's like, this is the way. Right now, the North Node and Chiron is saying, this is the way. This is the way we go. That's the phrase of the North Node. This is the way. The way is to put your new timeline, 16 net 7. Anything that adds to a 7 is spirit. Put your new timeline into action. Actions speak. Words don't even speak right now. It's all actions. Words are irrelevant. Doesn't matter what you say. You got to do it. You have to do it to make it happen. But Mars sextiling this means that we now coordinate our new vibration with the way. So again, we're trying to get our groove on. We're trying to get our vibration going. On the same day, Mercury then sextiles Uranus. So now Mercury says, okay, my new spiritual timeline, coordinating that with my new worth and my manifest potential. So again, we're tuning into our manifest potential with this sextile at 19. 19 is I manifest, by the way. Then on Wednesday, hump day, Mars sextiles Chiron. So this is where on Wednesdays when you've got to actually commit to the vibration of daily life. And this is going to trigger in this sextile the time that you once made a mistake. So remember I said you're going to commit to something you said you would never do, or you're going to commit to something you said you would never do again. Okay? Never say never. You're going to do it. So you're going to be committing to something. That's because your soul won't be satisfied until you get it right. So at that point, you're sort of coordinating your vibe to meet this. And coordinating your vibe means, by the way, wardrobe, sound, environment, location, frequency of things. How often do I do this? How often do I do that? This is creating the frequency and vibe to meet the goals here. Then on the 7th, which is Thursday, Juno trines Jupiter. So now Juno, which has now gone to 12, was at 13, it's retrograded back to 12, trines Jupiter at 12. So this is us owning the new worth. Like there's a new belief about what's possible. I have a new belief about what's possible to manifest. And Juno says, okay, let's make love to that idea. Juno basically makes love to it. Juno creates a synergy. It basically marries it. So we're going to get married to the new belief of what's possible on Thursday. Remember, Thursday is also the day that we commit step 17 and move forward. Neptune goes to 27 on Thursday. So pretty much Thursday is the big gold star day. That's the day when shift goes forward for good. And then on Friday, that's when Mercury conjoins Neptune. And that's when you basically drink the magic potion. That's when you say, that's it, I'm going for it. Notice Mercury and Neptune at 27 net 9. 9 means go for it. The sun is at 18 net 9. That means go for it. Mars is at 18 net 9. That means go for it. Okay. The moon had just crossed Mars in the last day, which means you started to feel like going for it. And then you went for it. When you have 3 9s, 18 net 9, 18 net 9, 27 net 9, that means it's time to go for it. That's next Friday. We'll go for it together, my friend. This apex is at 10:05 a.m., this conjunction of Neptune. So you basically pull the lever and jump in next Friday. All right. This is where I normally say to go steep yourself some tea, but I've already steeped my tea. Let me have a sip of it. All righty. So let's talk about the 12 signs. Hello to my super friends. I see everyone there. Okay. So this week in the horoscopes, I'm going to talk about 4 things like I always do. One, I'm going to talk about the sun in Pisces. So where are you changing your spiritual timeline? That's the first thing. Where are you going to make changes to your timeline? Then I'm going to talk about the earth in Virgo. Remember, what is my new reality? The key question of the week. That's what I'm going to ask you here. What is my new reality? In fact, I'm just going to write that. What is my new reality? I have my keyboard right here. So what is my new reality? I'm going to talk about where you're shifting your timeline. Where is your new reality? Then I'm going to talk about Mars and Venus in Aquarius. Where are you rising the vibration of your life? So where must you raise the vibe? Okay. And then I'm going to talk about the sextile to Uranus, raising your manifest potential. Where should you raise your manifest potential? And remember, Mars and Venus both square Uranus this week, really Mars next Saturday, but I'm going to include it in this broadcast. It will be within orb. So because of that square, as you raise the vibe, you have to reconcile that vibe with raising the manifest potential. So it's like, not only should I buy the manifest potential, not only will I buy the Tesla, but I'm going to get the leather seats, raise the vibe. I'm going to get the expensive car with the leather seats. Manifest potential is the Tesla. Vibration is leather instead of polyester. I don't even know if they offer polyester in Teslas, but you get what I'm talking about, right? Okay. And as always, I'll put here to the side what the sign I am talking about is so you can zip through the timeline, or maybe we'll have the time codes courtesy of Iggy. No pressure, Iggy. Starting with Aries. Aries are shifting their spiritual timeline with spirituality and karma. So Aries are going through a lot of profound changes right now, in the sense that if an Aries says it's over, they mean it. It's over. They're leaving you. That's quite possible. They have had enough with certain karmic patterns. Aries are fun. They like dig their heels in until they suddenly give up and say, screw it. So I do think they're going to do a lot of screw it's right now and be giving up on certain things because they just don't have it in it to win it anymore. They're grinding metal. It's not getting anywhere and they know it. I also think the Aries are going to come to some full realizations this week about what's possible and that they have a different destiny. I think what I'm getting, actually, my guides just said, oh yeah. I think Aries are going to suddenly remember, oh yeah, that's right. I wanted to be a steel worker. I forgot when I was 20, I wanted to be a cruise director on a ship. Oh yeah. So I think Aries are going to have a lot of, oh yeah moments, not to be confused with Kool-Aid saying, oh yeah, as he crashes through a wall, by the way. That's a Gen X joke. Now, where you are changing your new reality, what is my new reality in lifestyle and habits? So Aries are going to end up changing their lifestyle and their habits. So that means routines, how you work, what car you drive to work, how you do things day to day, who you work with. Expect a change in reality. There's a new daily lifestyle reality for Aries. That's when the hours that you work, the commute that you make, the car that you use, the tools you use, the whole 9 yards. So some real hands in the dirt kind of change of lifestyle and habits. Where you must raise the vibe, Aries, is with your social reputation. It's time to kick it up a notch. You might start to fly business class. I'm just saying. It's time to raise the class level of where you operate, where you circle. Go ahead and buy yourself the expensive thing. Go ahead and get yourself the nice threads. Go ahead and, mark up your image. Spend a little extra on yourself. Go ahead and get the full detail of your car. Spend the money. I keep going to money here, but money's a big part of it, because when it comes to raising your manifest potential, it's with money. So if you say to me, Aries, I can't afford, I'm going to say, make more. Okay. Make more. It's not about can't afford. This isn't a time to budget and cut stuff out. This is a time to find a way to make more. Now, don't waste money on stupid stuff, but you have to reconcile that you need to raise your reputation in society right now to a higher vibe. And if you can't pay for it, you got to find a way to do it. Okay. Because you're meant to get a raise right now. You're not meant to be, cutting back. I don't care about inflation. You can charge more too. So basically you're really in this world of spirituality and karma, but even though you're kind of in the closet thinking about karma, you are raising the vibe of your social reputation and finding a way to make the money to pull it off. All righty. That's Aries. Taurus. Tauruses are shifting their spiritual timeline in their social roles and their connections. And this is very true. That means that you have done all you can do in the old place that you were doing work. Tauruses are being reassigned now. They have different places in the world. I'm a visionary, so I'm already there. I've already started things. People know this. I've what I call a Diamond Egg Club. I've got these new social roles I am playing. I have a lot of new roles coming out that are still hidden right now. I haven't released to the public yet, so we've got a lot of cool stuff under construction. But Tauruses are now here to find a new role in society, and that's where the karmic timeline is. It's no longer your karma to do this. It's now your destiny to do that. So Tauruses are shifting what they do in the world. And this might be a last minute change too, Taurus, even though you were sure forever. You may realize at the last moment you were wrong. I had a couple things change actually at the last minute that surprised me because I was holding on to the old and I didn't realize it. Where you are having, what's my new reality for Taurus? It's with love, joy, and creativity. It's time for a new reality of love and joy. In the new reality, in the new timeline, Taurus, you should be loving life and enjoying it on a level that you haven't before, basically. So if it's not more fun, you're going the wrong way. Seriously. So if it's not more fun, you're going the wrong way, Taurus. Turn around and move over there. Now, Mars and Venus says it's now time to raise your vibe in your career and your legacy, your parenting and your leadership. It's time to take it up a notch. It's time to innovate your career. It's time to get more for less. It's time to be more sparkly, more shiny. It's time to really impress. So it's time to dress to impress in your career and in your legacy and what you're going to do. Show us what you got, Taurus. And that has to be reconciled with your behavior and your character. You're going to have to raise the level of what you do as far as a character. You might have to start talking on stage. Maybe open up to being funny and making jokes. Maybe doing personal, meet and greets. Maybe shaking hands and kissing babies, or like to say shaking babies and kissing hands. But you're going to have to probably up the game as far as how you behave, probably be more efficient in your work so you can get more work for less. Delegate, 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 Taurus. It's time to delegate. Okay. That's one of the ways of going up. You should not be doing anything mundane or repetitive. You should only be doing things that only you can do. All righty. Geminis. Geminis, you are shifting your spiritual timeline with your career, leadership, and parenting. So Geminis, it's time for you to find your place in the world. You do have a place. By the way, Geminis were really prevalent during the last American Revolution. The last time Pluto was in Aquarius. Give me liberty or give me death was spoken by a Gemini. All the good quotes from the forefathers came from Geminis. I've done the research. It's pretty interesting. They were very outspoken during the American Revolution. We are here again. This is the American re-evolution. So it's time for Geminis to find their place in history. And it's something you sense, and it's something you intuit, and it probably won't make logical sense at first. So just get over that. It's not going to make sense, but you're just going to feel like you're supposed to do. Don't be afraid to be a rebel and put yourself out there. Now, what is my new reality? You have a new reality at home, your family life, how you feel about yourself, how you feel about the world. That's what's changing. You're going to have a change of reality of how you feel. And don't be surprised if you change your feelings about something like, oh, I used to feel like a jerk when I spoke up at work, but now I don't. I used to feel silly for telling her this, but now I don't. So don't be surprised if you feel completely differently about something you did not feel good about just yesterday. That's a timeline shift, okay? In the old timeline, it felt weird. In the new timeline, it feels natural. Now, Venus and Mars are saying you got to raise the vibe of travel, knowledge, education. You got to up the ante. You got to do some Wikipedia searches. You got to put some data into that brain. You need some facts and figures. You need some experience. Don't think, go out and look at it yourself. Go survey it. Go to the border. See the migrant crisis. See it for your own eyes. Like, go and get the data. Make the trip. Don't speculate. Get your hardcore data. Analyze that data into your brain and reconcile that with your spirituality. The astrology is saying that your spirituality has to go up to a notch. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean you have to be a born again? No, you don't have to subscribe to any religion at all. But you do need to start praying or doing tarot cards or having some communication to your higher self. It can't be all lower. You got to have some sort of a higher means. I think Geminis would be great at tarot, by the way. I think they'd be great at tarot. If you just need something, because you can see the symbolism in the cards, but you need to raise your spirituality, and your knowledge has to be reconciled with your spirituality. You have to see in the context of God how this data makes sense. Cancers. Cancers have a new spiritual timeline when it comes to their knowledge and their travel. So you are now going to adopt a new wisdom, new skill set. You're going to take on a new area of study. You're going to find a new school of thought. You're going to find a new school to train at. Your new karma timeline is that you have this new belief. It might be the latest and greatest belief. It might be a belief we've always known. You might decide you to take up human design or study astrology or something like that. But your new spiritual timeline is a shift in your knowledge or a shift in your travel or whereabouts. Maybe you become some sort of a traveling person for some reason, or you travel to a location and then study. That's also possible. Where's your new reality? Your new reality is in your head. You're going to live in a new reality in your head. So you're going to energetically feel like a different attitude in your mind. You're going to have mind games go away, certain fights, or you're fighting with people in your own brain. That's going to end. Your communication is going to be a new reality. The words you use are going to be a new reality. So you're going to really think differently as a result of believing differently. Now, Mars and Venus says it's now time to raise the vibe of intimacy and boundaries. That means that Cancers have got to raise their prices. That means people have to work harder to get access to you. That means you have to set up different little tests before you let people in. That means that you have to say no to anything that is beneath you. You've got to put up some walls, talk to a friendly Scorpio. They'll tell you how to do it. But you have to raise the vibe of what it takes. That's a T coming up. What it takes for you to be close to someone. You can't just, I've known Cancers who are kind of bleeding hearts. We're just anybody that crosses their path. Those people are in other timelines. And, unless they ask, it's not even really in good spiritual karma to offer. Someone needs to ask. It's out of integrity if people don't ask for help, by the way. So offering help technically isn't in integrity if someone hasn't asked for it. So it's time to raise the bar of what it takes to get access to you. And this has to be reconciled with your social reputation. It's also time to go to a higher mark or a higher class in society. So that means you're going to move from coach to business class. You're going to now work at a different income level. You're now going to work in this neighborhood versus that neighborhood. It's time to go higher in class. And higher in class may not mean more money, by the way. It may mean more spiritually refined. It may mean people who appreciate you. It may mean away from where hardship is happening. I don't think we need to turn our blind eye to hardship happening, but there are souls who've signed up to help that level. And there are souls who've signed to help this level. And you don't stay at the same level your whole life. You don't always help Skid Row. Eventually you help the next level and the new kid comes in and helps Skid Row. The universe has this nice, elegant system of escalation. So it's time to find where you belong in social world and to raise the ticket to get in on the ride. Let me take a sip here before we go into Leos. Leos, you have a new timeline with intimacy and boundaries. And boy, have I seen this in my Leo friends. I have seen such a change in my Leo friends' attitude about who they get close to, how close they get, where the boundaries are, intimacy, sexual connections, attitudes about sex. I've really seen a powerful shift already with the Leos. Their intimacy and boundary story is completely different. Those kitty cats are snuggling up to a different kind of person now. They're getting into different types of relationships, and they're getting a lot closer. I found that Leos used to be a little more shallow. No offense. I have a Leo rising, me too. And they are getting closer now. I'm noticing there's when it comes to intimacy and boundaries, that's also boundaries with others, saying no. Sometimes Leos used to just ghost. Now they're actually saying no and having the respect to say no. So I'm seeing all different varieties. So the new spiritual timeline is a new spiritual timeline with intimacy and personal boundaries with others. Now, what is my new reality? Leos have a new reality when it comes to money, manifestation, what they value. So Leos are valuing intimacy now. They're valuing closeness. They're valuing boutique. I'm seeing Leos valuing quality versus quantity. I'm seeing Leos valuing eccentric and unique versus what everyone else is doing. So your reality is changing around your money values, your work values, how much you produce, what you produce, the quality of what you produce. So it's a real material reality change for Leos. This would be a good time to redecorate the house, Leo, and just completely surround yourself with new material items that have a different vibration. Where frequency is rising for Leos is in relationships. Leos are getting closer in their relationships. Their relationships are being more high vibrational. Their relationships are being closer to the heart. They're raising the vibration of all their relationships. And by the way, that's all relationships. That's friendships, vendors, employees, cousins, your cat, all of it. Okay. So raising the vibration. And that has to be reconciled with career legacy. Leos are taking their legacy and their career to a higher level. And in some cases, higher level does mean, because it's Uranus, more for less. And I am seeing this in a lot of my Leo friends. You are biting off too much. And I have a Leo rising. I'm the same way. We have to find a way to get that much with the same amount or less energy. Okay. That is how God works. God is incredibly efficient. One angel prayer can answer 1,000,000 people's things. Okay. That's how angels work. They're extremely efficient. So you have to reconcile higher frequency with career. And I do think that that means that, I mean, if you want to look at it very blankly, Leo should not be working with people who are not on the same vibrational level with them at this point. Just shouldn't. It's not a judgment thing. It's a, you're going to get slowed down kind of thing. So let people belong where they are ready for. Don't take anyone up out of what they're ready for is basically it. Don't promote somebody just because they're hot, Leo. Okay. They got to be qualified. That's what I'm basically saying. Virgos, the virtuosos. Virgos have a whole new spiritual timeline with relationships. So this is a whole new world when it comes to relationships, Virgo. You have not ridden this ride. I don't want to hear any Virgo or Virgo rising tell me men are like this or women are like that. That's the old timeline. Men in the old timeline were like that. Women in the old timeline were like that. So if you're on a new timeline, you're basically starting completely over when it comes to relationships. It's almost like you've been let into a secret club that you didn't have access to before. Okay. So you're being led into the secret club of relationships. Now, what is my new reality? You have a new reality in how you behave. Okay. So you can't act the way you used to act because you've got new people around you. These new people you're attracting, they're not going to be excited by the way those old behaviors. It doesn't turn them on. Okay. It's a turnoff. So I'm not saying who you are is a turnoff. I'm saying the behavior that you have become was dealing with the old school relationships. It's not with the new relationships. I would be quiet and observe for a while until you get the hang of this new clique that you're bringing in. And by the way, when I say new clique, I mean between now and your birthday. It will take, for everyone, this will take 6 months. When I'm saying it will take a full 6 months to happen, but you'll see evidence this week of it opening up, the door opening up. Where you have to raise the vibe with Mars and Venus is in your daily work routines. Virgos can no longer do dirty jobs. No, Virgos can no longer do dirty jobs. I know you like to clean things up, but there are young Virgos who will do that, or there are young other signs who will do that. In fact, actually, no, I won't say that out loud. I know the sign that needs to do the dirty jobs, but I won't say it. I'll let them figure it out. But it's not you. Your lifestyle, your work routines, it's all going to be higher frequency now. Higher frequency does mean non-toxic, no chemical exposure, clean environment, sunshine, talking to people, around people who are happy. You need to raise your work vibration. Your daily vibration needs to be a higher. Okay. Now, this has to be reconciled with knowledge and travel. So what that means is you actually do need to do some research, Virgo. You need to study. You need to bring in more information. You're super smart, know lots of things, but it's the old timeline you know a lot of things about. You don't know a lot of things about the new timeline. So it is back to school for the Virgos. There's a lot to learn in this new reality, this new world that you are creating. It also means there's probably a lot of travel. Get out of your comfort zones, go see other cultures, go expose yourself to things that are foreign. It's all going to be very good. It's going to help you to raise the frequency of daily life by going out and traveling and absorbing new information. All righty, we're going to take a sip here. Libras. Libras, your new timeline is around lifestyle and habits. So you're going to have a new life coming here any second now. I've already seen this happen a little bit with Libras. I've heard of a couple Libras I know getting some new jobs. Congratulations, you were a little ahead of the timeline there. So new jobs, new lifestyle, new habits, kids going to a different school, driving a different car, going electric now, changing your wardrobe. But like, it's all about, you're going to live a new life. We're not going to really recognize Libras. They are prepping for new relationships. We'll be talking about you in detail, by the way. Scott and I are going to gossip about you here in Astro Mingle big time, okay, as far as Summer of Love. But Libras are getting ready for new love. I'll just say that. And so it's time for a new wardrobe because you're attracting a whole different kind of man or woman now. Where's your new reality? It's with faith. You have a new reality with faith. I think Libras have pretty much felt picked on by the universe. From what I've known Libras, I could be wrong. Maybe that was my old timeline. Those are different Libras. But I don't think you've really had a lot of faith or real connection to spirit. You do have Virgo in the 12th house. So for you, if you don't see it, you don't have faith in it. But I think that's the old faith. I think it's time for, I think it's time to have faith that's so real you can taste it instead of expecting it to be so real to prove it. So your faith has to be like something you can taste. Okay. And when you taste it, then you will see it. But if you won't allow yourself to have faith until you see it, you're going to be behind that faith ball. So it's time for a new reality of faith. When it comes to Mars and Venus, you've got to raise the vibe now of love and creativity. Libras, your definition of love, not very exciting, honestly. I've had many Libra clients, and when they tell me about the wives and husbands that they've been dealing with, I'm like, you're the masters of relationships? Seriously? You're tolerating that? You rule relationships on planet Earth and you're tolerating that? So I'm sorry, y'all are lowballing as far as how high and awesome love can be. You can totally take love to a higher level. You've really allowed yourself to go just 2 t-shirt and jeans with that stuff. You need to have a gown, okay? So love and creativity has to go to a higher vibe. We're talking storybook or greater, okay? And that has to be reconciled with intimacy. I think that Libras actually haven't been that close because they actually haven't been that much in love. So because you haven't been aiming high enough in your love, I'm not talking about the person, I'm talking about the love. People are who they are. They can still be idiots and be great lovers and love you in a great way. So being how smart you are has nothing to do with how good you love, okay? So I think you have to raise the vibration of love, and then you've got to raise the vibration of closeness and intimacy. I think Libras are always somewhere else when I'm talking to them. I never get the full Libra. There's something else always going on. I like the whole 100% now. It's time for Libras to get intimate and raise their closeness on Earth and raise their quality of love on Earth also. Scorpios. Scorpios are changing the story and timeline of love and creativity. Scorpios are about to get very embarrassing. They're about to get super goo-goo, icky, gooey love. They're about to really show their cards here. Scorpios are going to end this life crazy in love. It's going to make us all sick to watch it, but it'll be good. Just kidding. I'm just saying sick because you've always been so cool. You never let us see that side of yourself, but now we're going to see it. So it's a new timeline for love and creativity. That also means Scorpios are going to start to become artists. We're going to see a lot of artistry from Scorpios, and a lot of interesting creative stuff from Scorpios. Scorpios are so deep. The artwork they do and the creative projects they do are compelling. You can't just get it in one watch. You've got to watch it like 5 times, or you got to experience it like 5 times. So it's a new timeline for love and creativity for Scorpios. What is your new reality? You have a new reality in the public. Who you've been in the world is not who you're going to be in the world. It's a whole new reality. Scorpios have a lot of, you really got to forgive and let go of all the stupid people. A lot of Scorpios get all pissed off at the stupid people. you're keeping yourself from the cool people by always harboring and holding on to the stupid people. So, a lot of Scorpios tell me the world's full of stupid people. And I'm like, that's your timeline. You could be on a timeline where everyone is awesome and inspiring you. Okay. So it's time for a new reality with social roles and connections and how you connect to people. Venus and Mars say it's time to raise the vibration of your emotions. You need to feel better, more on a cloud. Your family life has to be higher vibration. Your home life has to be lighter. Everything in your house should be lighter. Get away from those grays and browns and put some whites and lighter colors in your house. So it's time to lighten up your house, lighten up your feelings, lighten up at home. And that has to be reconciled with your relationships. Your level of relationships has been what's doable. I think you've set the bar kind of low with relationships for most Scorpios. Again, it kind of ties to the idea that the world's full of stupid people. I think you really haven't raised the standard of what you expect out of relationships. And I'm not saying from a given person, I'm just saying in relationships. So as you get lighter at home, your relationship quality is going to go to a higher level. So I do expect Scorpios to raise the bar on the manifest potential. Relationships can be a lot more than you realize they can be. And it's not a shortage of people. It's you on the wrong timeline. Sagittarius you have a new spiritual timeline with your emotions and your family life. I know your childhood was not the best it could possibly be. That's because you have karma come from your home and family. But that's over now. It's now time to create the new family. It's time to be the mom you wish you had. It's time to be the father you wish you had. It's time to be to your kids the parents you wish you had. It's time to be the wife or the husband at home to wish the one you wish you had. It's really time to create a beautiful story at home of magic and storytelling and love. When a Sag is really happy at home, it's a really wonderful thing. You don't see it often, but you're going to see it in this lifetime. It's going to start happen now. So this is also your feelings about everything. There's a whole new timeline. You're going to feel differently about everything, Sag, than you used to feel. So a lot of opinions changing for Sagittariuses. What is my new reality applies to your career and leadership. Sagittarius are going to have a new reality at work, in career, in parenting, in leadership, in what they're going to do next. They're going to really be coming out on the scene in a different way. You are the philosophers, you are the educators, you are the professors, and the world is ignorant as hell. So we need you. We need you to get out there and start teaching, opening minds, opening ideas. We need you out of the little corners that you've been hiding. You've been a little Tinkerbell in the corner. We need that to fly across the sky now and make a career out of it. Mars and Venus rising to a new vibration says your ideas and your thinking needs to go to a higher level. Time to think higher. I'm not saying you're in the dumps with your thinking, but I'm saying it needs to go higher. It needs to go to a higher level of how you think and communicate. And that has to be reconciled with daily work life. So you need to, you can get more out of daily life than you're doing. Sagittariuses, I find, tend to do quantity over quality in their work. I'm not saying their work isn't high quality. I'm saying that Sagittarius are trying to do too much, and they need to learn to delegate, and they need to learn to hand things off and teach. So it's time to get more for, more out of your day for less time, basically. So time to innovate your daily work life, and you have to raise your ideas and your thinking to a higher level. Some of that higher level thinking means you shouldn't be worried about the dishes. You shouldn't be worried about mowing the lawn. These mundane things, for those who are ready, we need you to go out in the world and teach. We don't need you to be doing the dishes anymore. Not that there's anything wrong with doing the dishes, but that's something you do when you get started in life. Okay. That's not where we have to always be. There's a point when you graduate certain things. I think Sagittarius are being told it's time to raise your thoughts, think about bigger things, and it's time to get more for less when it comes to daily work. Okay. We're going to take a sip here. Yeah. Organization is one of them. Good point. Capricorns, the captivators. You have a new timeline when it comes to your ideas and your communication. Capricorns are about to have a lot of new, fresh ideas. They're going to think differently, communicate differently. Maybe they're going to write books. Maybe they're going to be songwriters. Maybe they're going to write computer programs. Their mind is going to be on a whole new track. This timeline is a new track, a new way of thinking, a new way of communicating, a new way of intellectually expressing yourself, a new way of creating intellectual content as well. What is your new reality that goes with that thinking? New knowledge. It's time to, you have been you got really good at the old world, and now you need to master the new world. I think Capricorns need to understand AI, space travel, electromagnetic systems, elevation, propulsion systems, vibration, light, healing with light. It's time for you to get completely educated in all the new industries. If you're going to be industry leaders, you've got to know what the new industries are. There's so much on the horizon. It's time to become the masters of all the new cool stuff and to let the old stuff go into a museum where it belongs. And that's where I think the new ideas and new communication associates with that new reality. We have to raise the vibration is with money and productivity. You have to be investing in higher vibration things now. Higher vibration things are things that make people happy, things that don't cause pollution, things that are efficient, things that are green, things that are clean, things that are alternative. So your investments need to go to a higher frequency and invest in a higher frequency. And that's investing in a higher frequency in the office, investing in a higher frequency in your family. It's making higher frequency investments, higher vibrational investments. That has to be reconciled with your heart. So Capricorns are stunted when it comes to love. I don't think you realize how high the love ride goes, okay? Because you've been like, you sort of like stop it comfortable, like, oh, thank you, dear. Like that's all I need. It's like, that's not even foreplay to a teenager. Okay. Like, so your love, your capacity for love can go so much higher than you realize. Okay. You should, you're going to get to a point where you look you're so in love, you look silly. We're going to be like, oh, look at the Capricorns in love. We're going to all be laughing at you because you're going to look silly because you've always been so straight and narrow and everything. But so it's time to take love and creativity and romance to a higher level. It's time to just break the glass ceiling when it comes to love. And that comes with investing in higher vibration things. If you're investing in low vibe stuff, you can't take the love to a higher vibration. All right. Aquarians have a new timeline when it comes to money and productivity. Aquariuses now need to find the path of abundance, wealth, productivity, making money while you sleep, tons of sales. Like it's a whole new reality for Aquariuses when it comes to making money. I am suspecting that Aquariuses are going to be the ones who are set up to be the millionaires and billionaires of the future because they have their thumb on the pulse of innovation, vibration, ascension, etc. And Pluto is just going to kill off anything low vibration with money. So if you're still making money, digging ditches, you're going to get fired. Pluto's going to fire you from all the stuff that's just too low vibe. You're not going to be allowed to work in anything low vibration. Not that Aquariuses even gravitate towards that, but we do find everyone gets comfortable and gets stuck because they get comfortable. Okay. So when it comes to what is my new reality, you have a new reality with trust and intimacy. So Aquas, I'm sorry, but in the new reality, you have less privacy. You cannot ghost as much as you used to ghost. You have to stay there and hear it out. You're going to get close to where you want them to go and they can't. They're still there. It's going to be peanut butter on your finger. The world's going to be stuck to you like glue. You are the new reality. So get used to far less privacy. Okay. You're going to be much closer to the world than you've ever been before. You signed up for this. That's all I'm going to say. So intimacy and boundaries, a whole new reality. I hear every Aquarius I know is cringing right now. Scott's backstage canceling right now on the show. Venus and Mars are rising to a higher frequency, and that has to do with your behavior and your responses. I've seen this in Aquariuses. Aquariuses, they kind of have that same attitude that Scorpios. Aquariuses see a lot of people as stupid, and that might be true, but that's not very helpful. Okay. So your behavior has got to start treating all the idiots nicely too. I think you usually avoid the idiots. But your behavior is going to go to a higher frequency because you're going to be role models now. And so before you were ignored, not many people were paying attention. Now everyone's paying attention. So your behavior, how you perform, the elegance of your behavior, the refinement of your performance, the vibration of your personality and how you come across, this all has to go to a higher degree. That means maybe finer silks as far as your clothing is concerned. And this has to be reconciled with your emotional connection. You have to raise your emotional connection to the world. You're being forced to raise. Just like Capricorns have not loved as high as they can love, Aquariuses have not been emotionally as close as they are capable of. So you're being pushed to be emotionally closer while you refine your behavior at the same time. All right. So basically, the universe is pushing Aquariuses to be closer to the world because it's the age of Aquarius. Of course, you have to be close. It's all about you for the next 2,500 years. Have fun with that. And then the Pisces. Pisces, you have a new timeline with behavior and responses. So we're about to see a whole new Pisces unfold here. It could be a makeover, the way you present yourself, what you do for a living. Pisces are going to start to do things they haven't done before. They're going to be on the stage like they've never been on the stage before. They're going to be performing in ways we've never seen them perform. So Pisces are being pushed out on stage now. That makes sense because it's the end of the age of Pisces. Of course, at the age of Pisces, as it ends, the Pisces come on stage and take a bow. That's what you're being pushed to do, is take a bow now, because we are now closing out the age of Pisces, and you want to show the world what this was all about. Where there is a new reality for Pisces is in relationships. Just like the Virgos, all the relationships you've had so far were all old timeline. None of them count. None of them apply to the future of your relationships. I don't care what your pattern has been, what your type is, throw that out. It doesn't even apply. You have a whole new type of relationship coming, one that you never expected or anticipated. So get ready to be surprised, Pisces. And if you're a Pisces in a relationship and you know this is the right person, it's going to completely change. You're going to go through a new honeymoon period. If it stays, there'll be a honeymoon period for the Pisces if it stays. And that starts this summer, by the way. Where you have to raise your vibration is actually with your connection to God. Pisces have been a little too lowbrow. They've been stuck in the gutter. They've been worried about their earthly problems. They've been triggered by things like ego and materialism and social reputation. And you frankly have not been living up to your potential when it comes to God connection. You are the crystals that channel God universe. And so we need you to channel them. Take a look around. The world is dark as hell. We need you to log in, please, and phone home. All right, so it's time for Pisces to start channeling that good Christ consciousness and bringing it to earth and being the God service providers that they were born to be. Now, this has to be reconciled with your thoughts and your communication. Believe it or not, Pisces are very stubborn about their thinking. They don't change the way they think very much, okay? I think that's because the rest of you is always changing. So the only thing that stayed constant was your attitude and your logic. But God is saying, Pisces is thinking too low. Time to think more quantum. Think Einstein, who was a Pisces. It's time to take it to higher levels. So think higher, blow your mind, go higher in the way you think about stuff, and raise your spiritual connection to God. Amen, Pisces. Amen. All right. A little longer than usual. I'm sure Scott doesn't mind. Keep streaming, folks. We're going to go on a little bit of a hiatus here, a little vacation. We're going to run a couple commercials. We're going to switch out our backgrounds. When I come back, psychic medium Scott Cruz. Keep streaming. This zodiac weather's from Saturday, March 2nd to Friday, March 8th, 2024. Taking a look first at the weekend forecast. Over the weekend, you have now summed up a new spiritual life within you, and it's time to explore and see how will life change on the outside. Let's drill down. On Saturday, it's sunny and cheerful. Step 12 means that Jupiter rules the day. That brings an air of optimism and expansion and learning into the mix. The moon moves from Scorpio to Sag, so you feel your story in review with yourself, sort of reliving little moments of being you. This is the day where you're going to expand into new options for daily life that are more spiritual and aligned with your soul and feeling out the potential of the future. It's an exploring day on Saturday. On Sunday, it's sunny and soulful. Step 13 means that Uranus rules the day. Expect the unexpected. There may be a surprise coming to you. You are opening up to a new timeline, basically, and taking your perspective of what life should be to a higher level. On top of that, Venus squares Uranus, so you're reconciling the vibe you want with what you want to manifest, so you're shopping for new manifestations. And Sun opposing Juno means your heart is counterbalancing with how reality will feel at the end. With the moon in Sagittarius, you're also replaying the story of your life emotionally. Now looking ahead at the 5-day weekday forecast. Seeing the week ahead, you will now expand into new possibilities for how your karmic life will go. You will commit by Thursday and take your first action on Friday. Let's start though with Monday. On Monday, it's sunny and rather lively. Step 14 means Mercury rules the day. This will be a day of a lot of conversation, exchange, and connections. You're going to use that mental perspective to reframe the way you see karma in daily life or your spiritual path in daily life. You could say it's the birth of a new adventure. Mars will sextile the North Node, which means you're going to kind of connect your vibe of that what you want with the literal action plan of what you need to do. And Mercury sextiles Uranus, which means you're going to intellectually realize your manifest potential. The moon crosses the galactic center, so you'll emotionally feel a calling to a purpose, and then the moon shifts into Capricorn, where you'll feel the responsibility it takes to achieve that purpose. On Tuesday, it's sunny and fair. Step 15 means Venus rules the day. This is a creative resting and receiving day. You're really opening your heart to accept this new perspective on daily life, or opening your heart to a new timeline. You are, in essence, accepting the way it needs to go. And with the moon in Capricorn, you emotionally mean business. On Wednesday, it's cloudy and mystifying. Step 16 means Neptune rules the day. This is the second Grandmaster spiritual day of the Pisces season. You will come to understand and learn what your karmic story is about daily life. And once you can understand it, you can step away from it. You are riding the soul escalator, so to speak. With Mars sextiling Chiron, you're also coordinating your vibe you want in life with healing past mistakes. On Thursday, it's sunny and tenacious. Step 17 means Saturn rules the day. The moon is now in Aquarius, so you are emotionally detached. This is the day where you will go ahead and commit to this new soul timeline. It will be a unilateral commitment. And with Juno trining Jupiter, you're also figuring out how you're going to pay for this lifestyle. And then on Friday, it's sunny and eager. Step 18 means that Mars rules the day. This is the day to get moving with this new life and timeline. You're putting the new timeline in motion. You are charging forward. And with Mercury conjoining Neptune, you have just reframed your destiny.
It's serious joy, joy, joy.
Hello and welcome to Astro Mingle, the spiritual podcast that mingles with the talented light workers and innovative influencers of our time. And now that we've been on the air for about 6 months, we thought about circling back and checking in on some of our favorite guests. And tonight's guest has turned out to be one of my best light work buddies. Scott Cruz is a psychic medium that recognized his gifts as a young boy growing up in a house with poltergeist activities. He spent years denying his gift, and at one point even tried to heal himself with religion, only to later realize that he actually has an amazing gift for connecting to spirit realms and relaying messages from dead people. His psychic talents also read situations in the living, such as health conditions, situations around love, and he has a nose for smelling something rotten hidden in under the nose. He made his celebrity debut on Bravo's Real Housewives of Orange County, where he famously called out a cast member for lying about a cancer diagnosis. Scott's magic can be witnessed every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific on his YouTube channel, Scott Cruz PM, where he gives global reads and pulls cards for people who are watching in the audience. By the way, you'll find me in the audience almost every Thursday night watching Scott. On top of these talents, Scott's also a talented musician, having recently released his latest single, Come Alive. Please send waves of love and gratitude to welcome our guest tonight, Step 13, Grandmaster Aquarius, Psychic Medium, Scott Cruz. Hey, buddy.
How's it going?
Good
Good
to see
evening,
you.
Christopher. Yeah, so I'm just kind of being very private right now, don't want to release too much information as far as Aquarius segment you had before having me on. So I'm wearing all black, androgynous, I don't want to reveal too much.
Yeah, I don't see any cleavage. Like, what's the matter? You're closing up for me, buddy.
I'm usually down to here, the shirt, so I
Usually
figured I just want to
is.
be more reserved and. But no,
Sort
everything's
of.
well. It's great to be back on.
It's nice to have you, dude. I guess since you went there, like, did you relate or reject any of my Aquarius predictions for closeness and intimacy?
No, it's actually, I'm always kind of open to begin with Grandmaster Aquarius, right? But,
Right.
I have noticed, the 2023 into 2024 has been really pushing me to, find those hidden sensitivities and, very open when it comes to anger and passion and getting things done. But I'm starting to realize, the sensitivity is kind of resurrecting when it comes to relationships and vulnerabilities in that sense and being a little needy or emotional. So, I've noticed more of that, the beginning of 2024. So other Aquarians, buckle up, embrace because it is somewhat very freeing with that. So yeah, I've definitely noticed a huge influx of that, so far this year.
I've seen you be more sentimental since I've known you, it
Yeah.
seems like. Yeah, there's been little moments there, little bromance moments.
hmm
Have you, did you resonate at all with the world full of stupid people?
I mean, I came out saying that as a child, I came out of the womb like, who's this freaking doctor? Can he do it right? Don't slap me, So yeah, I mean,
That's
I've
funny.
kind of I've been saying that for a while, but then I started realizing like, that's not helping me because, that's also in a sense putting me in that category of I'm being stupid because I'm not allowing myself to appreciate whatever wisdom and in previous incarnations that I've evolved from. I'm not allowing myself to understand how much I've grown. Instead, I'm damning everybody else for their evolution. So I realized it's not serving me to say that any longer. And so I've actually been learning from those stupid people now and finding a lot of wisdom through those perspectives. And I started realizing, and this is for other Aquarians too, we may be enlightened to a certain degree, but we don't know it all. And it's good to learn from other signs and other perspectives because it gives us another characteristic to learn from. And so I've been starting to like, I was saying mingle more with those I thought were stupid and realizing they're teaching me a lot more of different dynamics I can be. And so I think that's another sensitivity that's kind of been evolving, in 2024 too, for me. Is like really embracing those different aspects and maybe lower levels and of incarnations that are still very helpful and very much teachers still for me.
Mm. And thank you for being honest. That's one thing I love about Aquarius is they are so honest. And they actually also, they do call people stupid, but at the same time, or they have at the same time, it's because they actually see such a greater vision for humanity. It's not a petty thing. They're not petty. They're
No.
they're frustrated. They're
Yes.
frustrated that we're not doing what we could be doing. So
Right.
their heart is always in humanity. It's always in the world's greater good. So
100%.
that calling of stupid is really out of frustration of being stuck in traffic. Really, it's not.
Hundred
Yeah,
percent. Yeah, because like,
yeah,
why can't you see this? Like, you're doing so much. You can do so much better for yourself. So yeah, it's very much that essence. I'm glad you clarified because yeah, it's not a pompous approach. It's like I
no,
want better for you. Why are you being so? And as a collective too, wanting to see the collective become more collective and connected, and so still very fragmented and separating. It's like why are you so stupid and following these narratives? And so yeah, it is in that level of wanting more and the passion and knowing what the potentials we all have to evolve. So that's so true. I really, really dig the way you said that because I think a lot of people may think that we're pompous in a sense. And it's like, no, we care so much to where it hurts and it frustrates.
yeah, they take humanity very personally, which is what
Yeah.
I love about Aquarius is.
Yes.
And I've seen you shifting a lot. Just getting more comfortable in your own skin. I mean, your show's every Thursday. It's at 6 Pacific, 9 Eastern
Yeah.
on Thursday
I
nights.
had to
It's like
think.
it's a new must see TV. I know that's backwards. We're going space timeline here.
You
It's right
missed one
here on
time.
his.
I cried on one of my lives. You missed it. It was a read of a client of mine that I've been working for a year, and she had such a spiritual breakthrough. And I was reading the situation. I actually broke down. I couldn't hold it back for like 15 minutes on the live. Just broke down
Really?
crying. Oh yeah.
What was
Yeah.
I
So I'm
thinking
like,
that
and
night?
afterwards I'm like, damn, Christopher wasn't there in that fucking live. He would have loved to see that part.
Actually,
But
Scott, let's roll that tape. No, I'm just kidding.
in slow motion. You know.
Yeah. We have a
What's
surprise
that
for you.
face?
We
What's
have
this
that
face
viewer
here?
right here. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen it. Have you? So Pluto's gone to Aquarius. I just have to ask a fellow Aquarian, like, have you felt Pluto? Did you feel anything sort of nip you in the bud, in late January? I mean, literally it was on the first day of Aquarius that Pluto hit Aquarius.
Yeah, the difference that I felt was, it was more like the inner rebirth because I've been so focused on the collective and so focused on, even the individuals that I work with and really wanting to be their cheerleader. And I started to realize I haven't been doing that cheerleading for myself. And so I really started setting more boundaries, late January, and into, the February, now almost ready in March already. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I've been more of my own cheerleader and setting boundaries. And I think that's been kind of a collective with all signs actually setting boundaries. I've been noticing. But for me as Aquarius, Virgo rising, I've been really saying that, I have to also set boundaries with my vulnerability and not allowing people to, kind of allow me to feel bad for them. And so where I just, deprive myself. So,
Mm.
yeah, that's been a huge shift for me to saying like, no, this is not cool. And so instead of just walking away or shutting it down or just dealing with it, I've been very more vocal about expressing that. And I've been getting great responses in return. And, communication with opposing signs have been like masterful. So huge shift in that regard of like really kind of building myself and understanding prosperity and self-worth in that regard and not putting that last. So you kind of nailed it in, well, kind of, you did nail it in the Aquarius segment for sure when it comes to accepting that prosperity because we're so busy doing that we forgot, oh, wait a minute, I got to kind of fill my own tank now. And so I definitely been feeling that. And I know a lot of Aquarius friends have been feeling that too.
Oh yeah, you have Aquarius friends. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
You
Not
don't see
surprising.
like you see like packs of Aries or packs of Sagittarius. You don't usually see packs of Aquas. Usually it's like an Aqua in like a Statue of Liberty among a bunch of people. So,
Right, a bunch of people. Yeah, I have a few. My sister's Aquarius,
oh,
and my partner's Aquarius, and so yeah, there's been a lot of different I would say connections with Aquarians, which has been surprising because I usually don't get along that well with Aquarians. They usually bore me. There's no stimulation, so so not funny. And so yeah, I'm usually gravitated to like Cancers, Geminis,
mm.
Pisces, is where I usually gravitate to. And surprisingly, sometimes Leos when I want a crazy merry-go-round, Mr. Toad's ride. Let's dive into the Leo for a minute. More Leo men do that, but so yeah.
Leo men are fun. So how are you feeling about, yeah, we'll just leave it at that. We'll use that adjective. This year in 2024, you first of all, you do your show. Let's go background a little bit back.
Sure.
Tell us just because there's people here who've never met you before.
Sure.
Just one more time, tell us a story. Like, you grew up aware of your abilities. At what
Yeah.
age did you come to realize that you had this ability?
Yeah. Another great ability I've learned in 24 is to summarize. So I'm good task me right now. I can summarize. So yeah, I grew up
That is a
aware.
good feature.
Right, it's an amazing feature, especially for me who talks too much. Yeah, I grew up really tapping into that, the metaphysical space. I grew up with a poltergeist in the home, and it literally was, I would say, a parallel to the poltergeist movie, to where actually the woman who lived in the home previously died in the house, and then of course that we found out the home later was built on an Indian burial ground, and so we had
Wow.
so much activity, and of course me having abilities amplifies that, but usually poltergeists are created by those who have abilities and gone through trauma. And I was going through some trauma, some physical abuse at that
Mm,
time. And so, unbeknownst to my parents, by the way, my parents did not know.
mm,
And so there was a lot of that going on. And so I was seeing apparitions, things were moving in the home. I also was being scratched and bruised. And, as I later got on my
wow.
later years, then we, went to the Christian church. And so then I experienced conversion therapy, exorcisms, possessions. So I experienced all that kind of like inhabiting of spirituality at a very young age to where, I was, riding on the religion for a while and practicing the Christianity. And then I realized it was very nuts. It was suffocating to my intellect and spiritual expansion, not to discount it, but I
No.
had to move on, especially after the conversion therapy and the exorcism possessions. It was really cumbersome growing up to where, I had suicide ideation and experienced more
Wow.
sexual abuse. And so it was very, 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 very heavy. And
Mm,
so then as I moved forward, I didn't want anything to do with spirituality, nothing to do with God. I didn't want any of it because I realized it was just negative in a sense.
Yeah.
And so I moved forward as kind of an atheist, felt stupid as hell. And even though I tried, I didn't want to believe in it. It basically was me pushing it aside. And as I developed in my 20s, I started having past life regressions come to me randomly and vividly and confirmed with multiple, I would say, connections of the future of other people coming to me with those same, I would say, regressions that I didn't tell them. And so
Oh, wow.
then I started becoming more spiritual, more Buddhist, like into like more like into Buddhism. And then I went into Scientology.
Wow.
Because that's a cult, and but that got me into more ETs, and then I became more spiritual, and then I started to accept it because at some point I'm like I realized I was killing a part of myself. I was manifesting a shadow demon that was following me because it was the fear and depression, and so I had this heaviness. So once I accepted that, and I went through agoraphobia because I had 2 years of massive anxiety. I couldn't leave my house because I was suppressing that.
Wow.
So, yeah, I couldn't go into crowds, and it was very heavy. And so, and the agoraphobia was extremely real, especially as an Aquarius. You can easily fall into that.
Yeah.
So, and so then I had to overcome that. So I started accepting that, and that's when, of course, I was always a medium and receiving information from spirit before, but it was to the point where I couldn't like shut it off. It was everywhere I was going, I had to deliver a message, and so decided to accept it and practice it secretly on the side, and then of course life took me from there. Spirit's like, okay, well, you want to, now that you're accepting it, let's take you forward and let's really do something with it. So, and I was buried in studying quantum physics, quantum mechanics, psychology, trauma healing, all that stuff. I was always processing and working through myself through my own healing, and also understanding how the brain works, how the mind works in conjunction to the soul. So I really dived in education and experience for a couple decades, before I started actually doing readings professionally. And once I did, I still continued my learning curve, and so it's been wonderful from there. And so I've been doing readings professionally for 20 years, 12, 13 years. Was of course reading before that, but Spirit has definitely shown me, even through the change of ideologies, that it is all about evolution and growth. Not about getting what we want. Getting what we want is results about growth and evolution.
Yeah.
And so the more we allow ourselves to grow and evolve, we get more of what we want. So that was a big lesson I've learned, and following your passion, following your soul purpose is where everything just unfolds, and the synchronicity is magical in life. And so that's what I teach now, and that's how I help guide my clients into making that realization for themselves. So hopefully I summarized that well enough.
That was amazing. I'm ready for a cigarette. I don't even smoke. So, how did you make the leap from all that to getting paid as a reader and ending up on a Bravo show? Like, what was that leap going from
Well, it's
novice or,
right,
something on the side to something paid? Because I think there's a lot of
right,
people who have the gift and are
right.
afraid to make that leap.
Well, yeah, I was doing it, like I said, secretly for a while. I was doing it like parties and stuff like that on the side and stuff. So I was reading people for a while and also had that experience for a while growing up. So I was very confident with it. So, but when I, started to like be okay with it going public, Spirit said, create a Facebook page for doing readings and just do free readings and get feedback. I'm like, okay. And so I created a page and
Oh,
started saying, hey, just testing my abilities, for in a session type format, and whoever wants free reading, let me know, and in exchange for a review. And so I started doing that, and people are just leaving amazing, responses. Not
mm,
to brag or anything, but and so then eventually I met a gentleman who I read it connected with his mom, and he was blown away. And he says, "I have a celebrity I need you to read." And I immediately said, "Is she going through a custody battle?" Because I didn't know who he was talking about. And he's like, "Yes," because I felt custody battle. And then so that's where he connected
wow.
me with Tamara Judge from The Housewives, and then I read her. She was very blown away about things. I mean, to a point, she told me her son was having a boy. I'm like, nope, it's having a girl. She's like, but the doctor said it's gonna be a boy. I said, nope, it's gonna be a girl. And so she's like, and she's like, I don't know about this one until it happened and he had a girl. So,
Huh.
so then she became very much a very strong believer and advocate. And then she invited me on the show, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know if I want to make this public. I don't want that scrutiny because I
Right.
still have that stigma. Like, I have to prove it to people. Like, I have to be very scientific, and I'm very, with my Virgo rising, analytical. So, and so, yeah, I was resistant with that. I didn't want to be a spectacle. And especially, what if I go on the show and they put that little ding, 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 ding music underneath you and make us complete, dun, 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 boing, like,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, Jesus. So I just, so, but my guides are like, you got to do this. And like, I felt a huge push. And so, yeah, and then I just pushed, went on, and of course, the questions were not scripted by any means. And I was, when I went and did my thing and made the predictions, and I had so much anxiety afterwards. Like, what the hell did I just do? Like, I felt possessed in that moment. And
Yeah.
so and I had so much anxiety, like I couldn't sleep for weeks. I'm like, oh God, I just put my reputation on the line. What am I doing here? And so, but of course, spirit calmed me down. And I think it was like a month after that was confirmed that, the guy was faking the cancer and faked the documents at the City of Hope, and that all came out of the news. And
Yeah.
so I was like, oh my God, you're vindicated. And so I was like, "Phew, of course, I knew it, but I was like, it's good that it manifested, because my brain was like, what if this, what if that, the
Yeah.
Virgo.
There's a huge
So
risk. I
yeah,
mean, and
yeah.
for those who haven't seen the episode, basically a character on the show had told one of the women, the housewives, that he had cancer, but he was lying about the cancer. And all the housewives were sort of huddling around in a sympathetic way to they had cancer. And Scott, in his brazen Aquarius sigh, was just like, I don't think he has cancer.
I don't see it.
Which is a really like, oh my God, like that was brave because A, it's cancer. So everyone's always, don't upset the person who's sick.
I know.
And you're on national television, there's cameras around you. And so what goes on inside yourself? Because I've had those moments in readings too,
Right.
where the client is just insistent, and my guides inside are like, nope,
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
Like there's what kind of signal are you getting on the inside when you're in that sort of position where the client is just calling you wrong, but you're feeling that it's right?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have opposition there because no one knew. No one was speculating at that time.
That's
Like, it
true.
wasn't even a part of the storyline. So at that time, I was like, oh God, here we go. But then it's like I felt the push. It's like I got to do this. So I kind of like even took a step back and kind of closed my eyes to get some sort of a read on that. And I just saw deception. I'm like, no, because at the time I just lost a best friend. It was like a brother to me, of brain cancer. And so I was still sensitive to that. And my uncle was going through cancer at that time. My sister was going through breast cancer at that time. I believe it was around that time, but I was just experiencing a lot of that. So the deception aggravated me. And I'm like, this needs to come
Mm,
out. Like I don't like this. Stop. Sorry, my dogs. I don't like the exploitation of that. And so that's what kind of made me, I'd say, I don't see it. It's not there. And so they cut it short. I did say I saw something on the nose at some point, but nothing more. And it came out, I think, a year after that he did have cancer on the nose, like a couple years prior, actually. But that was it. So yeah, I saw that it was more a feeling. I saw deception, but I felt like this is not true. I didn't feel a resonation of this individual in cancer did not match to me. And so sometimes I'll just get I think a lot of times lately, Christopher, like my senses, and those who don't know who are psychic, especially mediums, we're either clairvoyant, we're visual, clairaudient, audio, clairsentient, we feel it, or claircognizance, that we just know it. I have been just more claircognizant the more I've been developing my ability. I just know. It's just like, nope, like as if I know them. And so it kind of came
mm,
out that way. I just knew it wasn't so.
mm. Yeah, and thank you for sharing that too, because a lot of people doubt those instincts.
Yeah.
And did you was there an aha moment in your own awakening that you knew you were right and you decided to go ahead and hedge the bet in that direction? Was there that moment in your life?
I always knew I was right. That's the thing, but I just didn't trust it. And like most of us, right? I'm sure even you, right? You know it's there. You know the feeling's right. It's like I can't rely on that because it's not logical, or it's not tangible enough. And so we go that direction, and then doing, we get slapped in the face. Then that music is played under your foolish behavior because you didn't follow your intuition. So yeah, it took a lot of that in my life to say, well, screw this. I'm tired of it. Like I'm tired of being wrong, not trusting my intuition. That now is just like I just don't question it anymore. And I've said I'm going to completely surrender to this and give in. I want this ability to grow. I want this ability to be a power that I have that can either help me or, and most importantly, help everybody else. And so, and I also started feeling, passion for the space itself. I'm like, we have some quacky fucking people that are just representing the spiritual communities. Like, people big ass hair. I'm, with all these personalities that are just not relatable. They're either hyper queenie, hyper, Long Islandy, or just old. And so, I
I knew
mean,
you were
this,
talking about Long Island psychic
yeah,
or
I mean,
whatever. Yeah.
I did her once for Halloween. I dressed up as her. It was hilarious.
Oh,
I
really?
love
That's
her,
so
by the way.
funny. We have
Yeah,
those pictures now. No, I'm
yeah.
kidding.
Here's him getting dressed into the costume. Uh, so, I see spirits everywhere. There's grandmothers everywhere. So
Do you think
I gotta
she's
get.
accurate? I've never watched her. Is she? I'm
My
not
vibe
putting up a
says
girl down.
she's real. Yeah, my vibe says she's the real deal. It's
Totally real.
sensationalist for television, but she's a true spirit. I love her energy. I think she's really true and being herself. And for television, they always fluff things up, but she's a true spirit. I think she's wonderful, wonderful. I get nothing but great energy from her.
Yeah.
But it's to me, it's what we have as representations. I mean, people love
Right.
her,
Right.
but it's still like they're off, right? And so I just think we need people. I want to stand up for our space where you can curse, you can lay back, you can be yourself, you can dance, you can have a drink now and still be spiritual. You can still be down to earth and be spiritual. You don't have to be Mother Teresa or some sort of, unique unicorn to be spiritual. And so I start saying I want people to understand how casual spirituality really is. And matter of fact, being more settled in your skin is what spirituality is all about. So that's what another drive and push, that I wanted to bring to people is that representation and a relatability.
Yeah.
It's not. I'm not gonna pretend I don't say the F bomb or we all do, and so it's part of life. We're human. The point is, are you evolving? Are you becoming better at your communication? Do you have better finesse in your life? And so that's the key. And so that was
Yeah.
another huge push for me is to stand up for the space, the realm of spirituality.
I understand what you mean too. I mean, there's a extremely flamboyant astrologer in Mexico. He's passed on now, but he's super Liberace meets astrology.
Right.
And I kind of feel like those early icons became icons because they were that way in public already. Like
Already.
they had no reservation about just being who they are
Right.
completely. So they were the first ones to say, yes, I'm psychic and all this other stuff.
Right.
But they were eccentric in every other way too. So they really did trailblaze.
Sure.
But I do love that about your work is you're kind of normalizing it in the sense of, very relatable. Also, you're so open about your life and stuff. So
Right.
one thing I find watching, and it's funny to watch Scott work too, because he works every Thursday night pulling the cards. And you see Scott live. So you don't have chance to cover up or anything or whatever. You can
Right.
see the way your brain works. And he's also very good with medical stuff, actually.
Yeah.
I've noticed. Like, yeah. And how's that just comes to you
Yeah,
in
I mean,
pictures or
like again, I pull cards like I just like segment. I'm not a tarot reader. Cards are like for collective stuff, where people just want a card pull, but I don't really need them. I'm a psychic medium, so I can walk in a bar and read you. But with medical stuff, because I have so much knowledge and passion about that, a huge passion of mine is to bring health education to the planet, and based on my experience of going through my health journey and being around nutritionists growing up, and working for my parents' health food store and always hearing about organic this and pesticides that, and
oh,
so I was raised in a very health conscious environment. And I'm very passionate about that because I see so many people, especially within my readings, being misled and then coming back years later saying, I trusted my doctor, but now I've been misdiagnosed. Now I have this issue, that issue, or I've been misdiagnosed, or this medication has caused more problems. And they don't have a clear picture of nutrition. And so I always say, and I'm not anti-Western medicine at all. I think a combination of both is wonderful, but we have to be more balanced on that and more conscious of just when we go to a doctor, we're going to get a prescription. We're not going to get a diagnosis of nutrition and a complete understanding of our body. That's our jobs. So when you
yeah.
understand the doctors are doing their job to prescribe you, but you have to do your job and understand what's going on with you and take the actions that you need to do to take care of yourself. So I'm very passionate about that. So when I read, I definitely take the time to see deficiencies. And I always tell my clients, get that, validated by a health professional. Go to your doctor and get my reads, validated. Or sometimes they come and I validate the reads they had before, from a doctor. So, and letting them know what I know based on my education and experience of how to do so. And my experience comes from my parents. Dad is 72, never been on one medication in his life. Mom is
Whoa.
65, 66, never been on one medication in her life. And they're both two people always hiking up the mountain every day and
Huh.
very vital and active. No medications ever in their lives and never sick.
And they're in your chats almost every Thursday too.
And
Your whole
supportive,
family.
yes.
Yeah, they're very loving, good
Yeah,
parents. I want to
yes,
meet them one day. I think it'd be
yes.
awesome.
You will, you will.
Okay, that'd be awesome. So tell me what you're seeing at let's pivot now to sort of like what you've been seeing. Are you seeing any trends so far in 2024? We're now 3 months in. You're reading people all the time. You read full
Yep.
time.
Yep.
Can
Yeah.
you speak to any sort of trends that you're seeing happening right now for
Yes.
people?
Yes. I've been seeing a lot of creativity manifest from a lot of people.
Mm.
from a lot of people who've been suppressing it, or people who are just like completing a cycle, because I really feel like it's been a new paradigm shift for a lot of people in different signs. But for me, I've been gravitating, or at least attracting a lot of visually creative people. Like I've been saying meeting so many people where I'm like, you're going to be doing just happened last night. You're going to be doing, creating, changing spaces and doing like interior design work. And she's never done it before. It's like, I was thinking about doing that feng shui, changing energy stuff. I'm like, I've been getting a lot of people. And I think what people need now collectively is understanding their home space and
Yeah.
understanding how to create their home base. And I think that that's where things start, is at the home. So I'm seeing a lot of light workers being called to help people organize and get their home spaces in the right energy modality. So that's a
Mm.
trend I've been seeing too. Excuse me, I'm doing sinuses, so bear with me. And so I've been seeing that trend. I've been seeing a trend of people really kind of shifting out of outdated relationships. So that's been kind of
Yeah.
across the board. I'm talking
Okay.
about long-term relationships. I've been processing a lot of divorces the past, I would say, 3 to 6 months.
Wow.
Major divorces, of long-term divorces. And I've been seeing a lot of trends of people going from conditional lives to more spiritual lives. I've been seeing major shifts like that, and seeing them process that in 2023 and helping them be prepared for 2024. Because I say, as we all been saying, 2024 has a lot of movement with it, associated with it, and a lot of great, I say, vortices of moments you can take advantage of energetically to push you forward and to manifest finally. So I think 2024 is going to be a very tangible year, things actually coming into tangible fruition. 2023 was movement on the subconscious level for me, where people were coming to the realization and movement emotionally. And so now, and I always caution people, not everybody's doing the work. Right. So a lot of
Yeah.
people are not doing the work or being resistant. So what's going to happen with them in 2024 is they're going to feel like they're in a tornado, right? Being
Mhm.
spun around, like not know what's happening, and just things are changing, but it's in their favor, but they're so detached from that. They're changing, like I would say, in real time. So they don't really have the conscious awareness of what's happening, but it's changing them, but it's going to be throwing them out of whack. So I see a lot of those trends of people awakening. And another trend I've been seeing too is people using their voices a lot more,
Hmm.
you know?
People who are quiet, or are they speaking up for the first time? Are they
Both.
discovering they have a voice? Okay.
Both who be people who suppressed it, also people who have had it but never used it, or people who haven't used it effectively. And another trend, it's a lot of trends actually, Christopher. I've been seeing major health realizations between the cusp of this year and last year. I've been seeing a major people making the realizations of health.
Like health, what? Like I've been living poorly, or I'm in denial
Poorly,
about my
the
weight
older
problem,
patterns
or
aren't working. I'm starting to think outside of box of alternate medicine. I
hmm.
start seeing people leaving. I've had a lot of, even I've had a couple psychotherapists leaving to do more spiritual healing. I've
I'm
had,
seeing that too.
yeah, a lot of, clients who are working even in the medical space, like they're starting their own practices in holistic healing too, but blending the two. So I've
Hmm.
seen a lot of that blending too, and also people realizing that I need something else. So it's been a huge influx in so many different paradigms and dynamics in that way. So it's a major shift, actually, Christopher. So it's not just one thing. I think a lot of the dynamics are expanding massively, with health, relationships, creative expression, independence. All these different dynamics have been fully emerging and blossoming. I always say 2024 is the beginning of this humanitarian era to where it will be more collective. And so, what better way for it to be collective than to every dynamic to be strong and expressive, right? So,
Yeah.
it's a starting point of a wonderful era for me, in my perspective.
And I'll just affirm here, since we're doing a bit of a tag team, the South Node in Libra does say that it is time for relationships to change. So I'm seeing the same thing for divorces. We'll talk about that for this summer as well. That's kind of a lead into our topic for tonight. I have at least 3 medical doctor clients, like, who are changing their practice,
Yeah.
leaving their practice,
Yep.
and bringing in spirituality and other things into their practice.
Yeah.
Most of my coaching with them is just them feeling like the oddball, sort of
Right.
like how you felt in the beginning of your career, with admitting that you were psychic.
Right.
They're kind of coming out of their closet about the fact that they're spiritual, in their medical community. So
Right.
I'm seeing a fraction of that happening. It's an 8-year numerologically. So, the last time was 2015 was an 8-year. So
Mm,
to me, in 8 years, that's when you finally make up your mind and decide and commit.
right.
And so people go back and forth. I agree. 2023 was like, it was almost like you can feel something bubbling up, but nothing
Right.
really surfaced.
Right.
Like you knew it was coming, but you didn't quite know for sure if it was.
Right.
And it feels like so far in this year, yes. I mean, it's like, yes, it's definitely going to happen. It's a definite. So a lot of yeses where there were maybes before
Right.
is something I'm seeing. Like,
100%.
and it's interesting on the relationship front too. So the astrology says, and this is a lead into tonight's topic. First of all, Saturn's in Pisces. So the astrology says we're coming to the end of a karmic pattern with ourself. Like
Makes
we
sense.
finally have figured out the big questions with ourselves. I'm not a loser. I am
Right.
worth it. I should speak up. And I am seeing the quiet ones speaking up too, by the way.
Yes. Yep.
I've been personally predicting that, like, George Washington was always the quiet one in the room in the
Right.
revolution,
Right.
to where it was like E.F. Hutton. They were probably like, well, what does George think?
Right.
Those quiet people, you can't trust them. I always say
Right.
that. Like,
Exactly. They're the ones you want to be fearful of. Right. Exactly. The quiet ones, you got to be careful.
and they are, and that tells you. And so, when things look like they're going to not work out, like, I mean, the whole world looks like it
Right.
could veer off the road at any moment and go off the
Right.
cliff. You never anticipated that quiet one to speak up. You never anticipated the one to leave the abusive husband or the
Right.
abusive wife. You did.
Right.
It's what's happening is those things where we'd said never say never,
Right.
because it's happening, and that sort of thing.
Yes.
But from a relationship perspective, let's go ahead and segue to tonight's topic. Relationship changes in the air big time.
100%.
Saturn in Pisces says that we're done with our karma with ourselves. And most of us chose our partners based on our own inadequacies,
Right.
like,
Or trauma bonding. Or trauma bonding. A lot of them,
You're
people have been
right.
trauma bonding too.
Yeah. Or projecting or
Right.
codependent, or I'll fix you instead of look at my problems.
Right.
The narcissist. I mean, that's like a buzzword I'm tired of.
I know, very sensationalized. I hate using it too. I'm like, oh my God, I sound like a TikToker, So
It's
yeah,
become popular. But it's funny. I
it
have
needs
a
to be
theory.
though.
In the old days, only men like Napoleon could be narcissists. This is what I tell my
Mhm.
clients. Only the really powerful men could be narcissists.
Right.
And what's happened is like the modern age has allowed everyone
Everybody to be narcissist. Why?
So
Because all we have to do is push. I'm powerful. I'm powerful. Just point a key on the keyboard, and we're powerful now. So yeah, it's something giving people a false sense of confidence. That's for sure.
That's
You know?
true. Well, it was something that had to be like bled out, like you get
Right.
the air out of a pipe, like society
Yeah.
had to bleed out. But,
I agree.
I just want to say for a record, I don't think narcissist is going to be, I think it's going to be a tired word another year and a half. Like
Right.
we've burned through it now. All the narcissists have been called out.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, and I think like a lot of saturation, it gets annoying, but it's so necessary to like say, it's almost like spirit saying, come on, hurry up, get the point, get the point. Here's it saturating your face. So there's a lot of good to that, because now everyone's tired of hearing it, everyone's tired of mingling with it. It's been exposed. Now we can move on quicker. So I think it was a good thing. As irritating as it could be, it's like we can finally move on quicker, with all that saturation,
It had to happen, but it's not the new normal. It's actually
Right.
the end of the old normal that was never
Exactly.
talked about.
Exactly.
So I think it's so people were all hooking up based on past lives.
Right.
They're hooking up based on their wounds, on their traumas, as you
Right.
say. Saturn has officially said, okay, that's it. With Neptune in the high degrees of Pisces and Saturn in the low,
Yep.
it means that we've raised the bar basically of everything. So
Right.
So as a result, and the South Node's in Libra for the first time since 2005. And when the South Node's in Libra, that's usually when we leave our relationships that are no longer working. And the North Node in Aries, we sort of go out hunting and gathering for the next best thing.
Right.
So this is the setup to what I'm calling the summer of love. And what's going to happen is Jupiter is going to move into Gemini, which is not necessarily romantic.
Right.
In the sense of, violins and roses,
captivating. It's a captivating energy. It's kind of like appealing. It's alluring to me. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Well, oh, totally. Well, it's like you find your bestie. So Jupiter
Right.
and Gemini is like, I found my bestie.
Right.
I found the person I can tell everything to. I found the person who gets me.
Right.
We talked until 5 a.m.
Right.
That's Jupiter and Gemini. So
Right.
it's like, normally Jupiter and Gemini is just like an explosion of like internet activity and chat rooms and, like people just, loud walla walla going on in public places. But now I think with Jupiter and Gemini, because we've overcome the narcissist thing, because we had the South Node in Libra, because we have finished our karma, and most light workers all want great love. and haven't found it. Like I have my entire Rolodex of clients are all amazing women who want love and haven't gotten it yet. So like there's this huge demand,
Yes.
and they're, by the way, not all men are narcissists, and there will be
Right.
some recovering ones,
Right.
but so I feel, and this comes from a
Or and
psychic.
I wouldn't dovetail from that for a second too. A lot of people think because they ghosted them, they're narcissists. I'm like, sometimes the person just doesn't get the point, so there's no choice to ghost, right? So sometimes you tell someone 3 or 4 times, and then the person doesn't get it, they keep continuing, so the ghoster disconnects. Like, he's a narcissist. Like, no, you just don't get it. So there's a lot of those circumstances too. I had to call certain people out and say, you're not dealing with a narcissist. You're pushing and being obsessive, and that's the only way for them for you to get it is to shut down communication. So we also have to be very clear about that. And I have to be very vocal about that too, because a lot of times people think they're narcissists, but we need to be objective. Are we pushing too much? We not getting it? We being too compulsive and too, because a lot of times they're being narcissists by thinking they need to want me instead of. So a lot of times I've seen
Right,
that
reverse
flipping of that.
narcissism.
Yeah, it's like they're not responding to me. I'm like, that's very narcissistic of you to say that, So
There's
uh,
a
so
yeah.
there's been a lot of that realization of the over projection of narcissism is actually the mirror looking back. So,
I've
I just
seen
had to
that
add that.
too. I've seen those
Yeah.
TikTok videos where like he's a narcissist that doesn't get it and he needs to know. And I'm like, I think I'm looking at a narcissist right now, calling narcissist black, or calling the kettle black. Like I've seen
Right.
that. It takes one to get one.
Exactly. I mean, Jesus, it's like, don't you know I'm the best thing here and I'm more important than anything else? Like, yeah, that's a little, yeah.
And he's a narcissist or
Right.
she's a narcissist. Yeah.
You're
And
right
there are
about
female
something.
narcissists.
Yeah.
There are, I don't know what there's a word for it. It's not Karen, but there are female versions of it too. It's not all men. But so I had this vision. This all came up for this idea because I had this vision at one point. Usually it's in a reading. I get visions about other stuff. I don't know about you, where I saw like people all making out with bombs dropping, which was my guides being funny. They're funny. My
Yes.
guides are
Yeah.
always funny to me. They
Mine
take
are
it to a
too.
cartoon level,
Yeah.
which told me this is like there's going to be this balance this summer where the world is absolutely falling apart, but people are falling in love. So no
You
one's going
know,
to matter.
that's so true that you said that, because I feel like, we're entering like a hippie phase. I've been saying for some time. Like, I think it's gonna be like a hippie phase, like, make love, not war. So I feel like we're coming into that I always say history repeats itself. So I kind of feel like we're in that 70s hippie era or emerging into. So I agree.
Mm,
That makes complete sense to me. Actually, it's very quite literal as we think about it. Love, not war. So I think
yeah.
your guides are spot on that.
Yeah, it feels like it. So the idea of this show, tag teaming, is for us to go around through all 12 signs and us just kind of each of the sign kind of evaluate where their summer of love is going to play out, like
Okay.
and whatnot, and maybe a couple of
Juicy.
lines. Yeah, and of course we're bringing in what we see in our clients and our readings and our comments and everything else
Right.
too. So you're getting some super perspectives here with Scott the psychic medium, and me the astrologer. So let's just go down the line. Let's start with Aries. And I'll just say, just like lay down like a pipe for the story at large. Like Aries actually have the North Node in Aries and the South Node in Libra. So Aries and Libras are the most going through literal relationship change now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think Aries have a whole new career. They used to be the brutal, warriors on the planet. I would say
Right.
they were vicious in the age of Aries. They were heroes in the age of Pisces,
Right.
and now they're out of work.
Right.
So
I've
they're
been
at this
seeing that,
place.
a lot of
They're
that.
trying to find themselves now, but I feel like so for Summer of Love this summer, I feel like Aries will be out doing something very Aries macho-esque, like, and love will just fall in their lap out of nowhere, like unexpected.
Yeah.
This is sort of what I feel for Aries. What are you picking up on
Yeah.
Aries? And what they were going through?
For those who are not in relationships, I think it's going to smack them in the face. So, like, similar to you, almost sound like, I just met this amazing person. Like, it's going to come out of nowhere. I feel like those who are single looking for love, those who are in relationships are going to really find a new, I would say, spin to their love life. And I think if they're having a very, I would say, lackluster intimacy with their partners, that's going to spice them up this summer, I feel like, too. So a new perspective on sexuality and intimacy. And those who are maybe not looking for love, I find that you're going to find a new love interest as far as I see a lot of traveling. And so even there might be some who are maybe wanting to be photographers that might come about with them. So I see a lot of travel and love for the world when it comes to Aries in the summer of love. If they're not looking for romance, they can find a more love for the world and their surroundings. And that's why the photography aspect comes out too, because some might decide, I don't want to be a photographer and capture these moments of the world. So I think that there's, of course, I'm going to hit every three marking point of that. Those who are seeking relationships, it's going to hit them in their face. Be careful though, because some might be impulsive. Beware those impulsive relationships, because they could be somewhat also karmic, even though they're not intending to be. They might reflect it. And so it's more about the patterns of your mind that you might be falling into, but don't push it away, because you might think it's karmic, but it's not. Let it be impulsive, follow that impulse organically, and it will lead into something nicely. And again, those are relationships, a newfound sexual point of view, and those who aren't looking for relationships, just want something, new. I feel more travel, more enjoying the environments around you and taking advantage of such and getting out more.
I think astrology hits that right on, brother, with Aries too. I mean, Jupiter's gonna be in their third house of ideas, so I feel like they might fall in love with an idea or a concept or
Yeah,
obsess on something.
right,
They have Saturn in the 12th house, so they could meet like a past life. I sort of see like as I hear you talk, it feels like Aries might have like one of those fleeting affairs, two ships passing in the night, kind of
right,
like, a Florence Nightingale kind of thing between a
right,
soldier and a nurse, like just something that was completely unexpected,
right,
but gets them to think differently or see themselves
right,
differently too.
right, right.
It's like they need to see themselves differently. I think they're going to see themselves differently through the eyes of another person, whether that's romantic or not.
That's why the impulsive energy, I think they need to follow that. They might run away from that, but I say go with the impulsive energy. Let it be something that will be working for you. Because I sense they might be fearful usually about this, but I think that, like you said, that impulsive energy might feel karmic, but it might be like you said, past life.
Yeah.
Or just something that just like and captivate them. And so I definitely feel that for Aries for sure. And I guess before that creative, environmental, enjoyment and expression too, for those who are, looking for something more like a hobby.
I'll just end with this with Aries too. If you're in a bad relationship, don't be a hero. just just go ahead and let it go. Like the universe is saying it's on to new. You're probably holding both of each other up at this point.
You're already
So
defeated. You've been defeated. So don't drag yourself through that bridge over to the dumps. Just like get up and just go somewhere else. You're defeated already. And it's okay to accept defeat, because you win by accepting defeat, because you actually allow yourself to grow. And so,
yeah, that's true. And they do sometimes don't want to accept defeat.
right.
All right. Taurus, which is my sign. I'll try to do the best I can with being objective.
You want me to go first on this one?
Yeah, yeah, dude, that's perfect. Go
I'll go
first with
first on this
Taurus.
one
Yeah,
for
yeah.
you.
We'll switch around.
I gravitate to a lot of Taurus energy too. I think Taurus energy is, especially with the summer of love. I think that I'm finding a merging of self love with a collective love, as well as an individual love. So I really find Taurus understanding what love really means outside of the doer, and the bull in china shop energy of love. I'm gonna love you and just take my love. So I
Yeah.
really feel like you're gonna find the balance, the Taurus energy in the summer of love, and so. I think that, Tauruses will find a slow romance, something that allows them to settle in, and to win their trust over. So I think those looking for dating and romance will find that kind of slow, building type of energy and connection. Because I feel Taurus is being very hesitant this year, extremely hesitant more than ever, with relationships. And I think it's because you I've now at a juxtaposition of I've been burnt, but I've been the one fucking it up. So I actually need to like do something about this and really kind of focus on how I'm managing my energy. So that realization goes into the summer. It's like I've done that. I feel good. I feel protective. And let me get my feet wet now. And I feel like that's gonna be wonderful. I think Tauruses might have more than one options this summer. Depending on how active they are in that evolution. Those
Mm.
who are already in relationships, I feel a huge breakthrough in communication. Huge breakthrough in communication, and more so a
Mm.
sensitivity in communication. And so I think that's another way that's going to help, evolve, and that love energy again is to that, sensitivity of communication. And, sometimes Tauruses like to talk and not to listen. And so I think you'll be more
Huh?
listeners, less talkers. Yeah. I must be
That's
psychic
what
or something.
you must be just a wee little bit. Yeah,
And
that's
then
true.
and then those who are not looking for relationships, I see more literary connections for Tauruses in the summer. If they're just looking for something additional in their life. So those who are writers get to writing. Those who really want to read that book, read that book. Those who want to maybe express their viewpoints through a blog, do it. So I think that'd be a great time to find a love and expressing yourself through verbiage. A lot of communication shifts with Taurus for me in the summer.
Brilliant. Well, the astrology supports that 100%. We've had Jupiter in our sign, so I think we are changing and growing, and I think we're attracting a different type of personality. So I think we're a little reluctant because what we always our go-to is not what is coming up, is what I'm starting to notice already. There's different types coming in. Saturn in the house of society for Taurus, I feel like we're going to be traveling a lot, seeing the world, introduced, I think, to eccentric types outside
Right.
of our normal type. I think is part of it. So when you were talking about the reluctancy or being a little slow, I think it's because it's going to be foreign
Right.
to us.
Exactly. Yes.
I think, but good, because let me tell you, what we've been
Right.
doing has not been working. You know, like
Right. Right.
so foreign is a good thing. I also think we're feeling very big. I mean, we're in our best light that we've ever been. You know, for us, so we're getting used to the new us.
Yes.
You know, Jupiter's in our house of money and manifestation, which is Gemini. So what we do is make ideas happen.
Right.
So I totally feel what you're saying
Yeah.
about, you know, connecting into a lot of intellectual connections. I think Taurus is going to have a lot of friendships come in. Let me tell you that. Like,
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm
but
feeling a lot of new friends.
the thing is, you guys might find some friends with benefits too. Like I think you guys will confuse that too at some point because finding
Guilty,
that
guilty.
connection, so I don't know what's about
Guilty
that
as
area,
charged.
right?
That's
So,
always the case. No, that's just always the case. I'm always like, my whole life is like, friend, or am I supposed to, you know, like, I don't know. Like, I never
but
know.
you might find a balance. You guys might find the balance of that, this summer too, is realizing, what, maybe this is just a friend. Maybe I don't need to push it romantically, and allowing the romantic connections to take the space. Because then when you do that, you're letting friendship, intimate connections take the space, and then there's no room for romance or real intimacy in the sense. So I really think you guys will be very kind of aware of that and communicate that more effectively. And so it's a good change. The communication aspect really, emphasizes this year in a way that's going to get you what you want in your relationship. So, yeah, it's all positive, of course. I mean, all these evolutions this year are going to be very positive. But again, those resisting it are going to have, again, the flipping of being taken advantage of and then not being heard. So there's also the opposite side of things of those who are being resistant and, not wanting to follow where the trend is going energetically. They're going to have the complete opposite. Feel like
Yeah.
they need to express themselves but can't, and then they're not being heard. So beware if you're not being, going in tune to the rhythm. Now I sound like Gloria Estefan. Tune to the rhythm. Rhythm's gonna
Of the
get you.
night. I will say, I'll just end with Taurus on the idea of open communication. I'm more confident now, and maybe a little bit more, I don't know, more self-caring, but I used to worry about upsetting people. So I withheld a lot of information.
Right,
It's not that I was dishonest. I was worried about hurting.
right,
So I would just sort of keep things out, and I kept people guessing, and
right.
that turned out to be. So I do feel like in all my relationships, I'm being a lot more honest now already, or
Transparency.
forthright, not honest, forthright. That's the
Yeah.
better for it.
But
Yeah.
also transparent, because you got
Yes.
when it comes to talking about you guys, I'm gonna go out here, stage left. It's like you guys, shut down, and so I like I said, the communication will of course bring more transparency, and then I mean, you guys, I love Taurus energies are so beautiful to me. I love Taurus energies. I always gravitate to Tauruses, and they're just to me very beautiful and so passionate. But I think the passion sometimes misguides the Taurus energy, but I think you're gonna find more of that guidance of the balance of the passion and expression. So I want to be a little longer on that because you're here, but yeah.
Well, I wish we could say the same, Aqua. No, I'm kidding. We
We don't
like to
get
roast each other.
offended.
Yeah, no. Okay. Well, I like with you starting out. Why don't you start out? Because you're doing a pure psychic read, and then I'm backing up with astrology.
Sure, this way I'm not like pulling the information from you. Yeah, because again, I'm not very I'm so astrologically handicapped, so it's definitely is blind to me. So who's the next?
Next is Gemini, who will be the
I
benefactors
knew
of
it was gonna be
Jupiter in their
Gemini.
sign.
I
Yeah.
had a feeling it was gonna be Gemini. Gemini is gonna have a difficult time this summer, I feel like. I think it's gonna be a duality here. I feel like Geminis are gonna really find a vulnerability this summer, but
Mhm.
they're gonna meet people who he's gonna ghost them or run away from them. So I feel like it's gonna make them emotional in a sense to where they're feeling like, I've kind of done that before. I've kind of like just turned my back on somebody. Now I'm getting the back turned on me. Primarily Gemini men. When I look at Geminis, I see the men and the women completely different in the different
Yeah.
life types of Geminis. So I'm more talking about the male energy. So females, make sure you're actually with a confident Gemini. If you're gonna meet a Gemini, make sure they're confident and feel like they progressed. Because then I feel like they'll be on their journey of, that kind of like looking for stability. And so the Gemini women, I think that you're gonna own your stability this time with the summer of love and the summertime. You're going to be feeling more. I want to be stable. I'm looking for stable relationships, not just in romantic relationships, but within your friendships too. You're going to be craving that stability. And so the men are going to have a difficult time, understanding that new paradigm. But those who are kind of advanced in their spiritual growth will understand it. Those who are in relationships, there will be communication issues. There might be talks about stepping outside the marriage or doing something unconventional within your
Hmm.
relationships. So that might not be, that's not a bad thing. I think that the openness to the discussion is what's key, not the actual result of it. So sometimes just discussing that will give you more freedom than actually going through with it. So I think that'll be a key within the relationships. And as well as those who are not looking for relationships, I think that there's going to be more of a soul searching for the Geminis collectively in summer as well. So I'm finding a love for not just the self, but the love for, I would say, spirit, and the love for, what we call creator, the love of the essence of things is where I feel like the summer will be for Geminis as a whole, if they're not looking for relationships. But that might be true even those who are in or looking for relationships too.
That's really on point. I agree with you on the separation of men and Gemini women. Geminis are just coming out of a faith transit. Jupiter's coming out of their 12th. So I think they have found a faith. They've had to learn some hard lessons of faith. They tend to be a little nervous. I think basically Jupiter's moving in their sign. So they're going to be filled with energy. And I agree. I think that's going to be uncomfortable and make them feel nervous. But at the same time, I think Geminis who are caught in relationships that are unfulfilling are going to feel some of that bravery.
Right.
And they are going to open up and say, hey, why don't we try something a little different? Why don't we
Right.
mix this up a little bit? I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree also that the Gemini men are going to be a little bit more shy out of the gate. I think Gemini women are sort of goddesses that haven't been embraced yet. I
Me
know so
too.
many Gemini women that are just like
Yeah.
these
Amazing. My
amazing
mom's a Gemini.
goddesses.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and they really haven't been eaten up. Like
Right.
they're waiting to be heard.
Yeah. They're
Uh
amazing. Gemini
yeah,
women are amazing to me. I love their, and so strong and so witty, but so nurturing. And I love Gemini women.
I think they're
Hi,
going to
mom.
Yeah, there you go. He's scoring brownie points for Christmas presents. But like, no, I think Gemini women. So I feel like Gemini women actually might beat the men as far as the summer of love. I think they
Yes,
might find real love.
I
I
agree.
think, I think the Gemini men will be a little gun shy.
Yep,
But
I agree.
But I think the Gemini men are going to grow in their careers.
Yeah,
So I have a sense that they're going to build a lot of camaraderie this summer. They're going to really fall in love with their job. They're going to really fall in
right,
love with their colleagues.
right,
They're going to become buddies with the people they work with. That's
right,
Saturn in the 10th house. I
right.
feel like that's something that's going to happen for them as well. And the other thing too is Gemini's just went through an intimacy transit with Pluto in Capricorn. So the universe is pushing for them to get a lot closer. I don't know if it's going to happen this summer, but they've been a little mental. They need to be,
Right.
I'm talking about in bed. Like I think they've been very intellectual in bed,
Very
very
true.
idealized in bed. And there's other ways to feel good in bed than just the idea of who you're with.
Right. And they get more fantasized about the fantasy behind it when they get with it. It's like shutdown time. So yeah,
That's exactly it.
yeah,
Yeah, their mind gets them all worked up. And I wonder if in bed they're in their mind or on the internet and not with the person they're in front of. So I think they're going to get pushed into being closer than they expected to be by the end of the year.
right.
And the summer is going to be like the foreplay or the beginning of whatever that is. And
Yeah,
I
and one
agree
thing,
with the
yeah, and
faith. Go
the
ahead.
one thing I want to say with Gemini men too, expect the better, because I think a lot of times Geminis are more surprised of who they attract. They might be saying,
Yeah,
"I've attracted this. Like I'm usually dating lower, so I'm attract this great energy." So then they get in their head because of that too. I think they tend to attract, I would say, levels that are higher than them sometimes. Because they do have that charismatic energy too, and that appeal, especially those air signs. Aquariuses as well. Geminis could really bring Aquarius into their sphere. At least from my experience. So I just think that a lot of times they should allow themselves to understand it's okay that someone is, more attractive than you thought or has more to offer to the table.
that's
Don't
true.
let that overshine you, because sometimes they would back away from that. And so if they this summer they can start allowing that, they can start having, like you said before, just all these interconnected relationships working in balance, where they're not, say, fragmented in their relationships. Feels more unified than fragmented, and relationship here and just breaking up the timing differently. They'll have more, I would say, intimate connections and more meaningful connections versus these little fragmented relationships. So I see an evolution with the men on that too.
That's a
That might
good
be
point.
more 2025 though.
Yeah, I think whatever barrier needs to be broken, and that fragmenting is exactly what keeps them from getting close.
Right.
Is they've kept
Yeah.
everything in little intellectual baskets, and
Right.
and been a
Right.
little stubborn about not changing their mind. They get a little
Right.
Stubborn that way. Good conversation on the Geminis. Cancers. What do you pick up on the Cancers
Oh, cancers are having a rough time right now.
with relationships?
With relationships and it's overall too. Cancers, I love them. They're a little behind a little bit sometimes
Yep.
when it comes to things, and that's not a bad thing. Because we need to Aquarians need someone to help. As we evolve, we need someone that we can help to evolve. So, but cancers bring so much to the table when it comes to emotional perspectives that they are the last ones to wake up and realize that. So I think the summer of love for them is going to be chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
Unexpected
Yep.
and very almost like they're pulled in so many different directions in a sense that they can't make up their minds. And so I think that's necessary for them because it's really forcing how to control their emotions when it comes to interests and romantic interests and allowing them to be selective. Cancers are good at connecting with one individual and going with it, not saying, I have
Yep.
this cool person, this cool person, this cool person. So they're going to say, oh my God, I have to really kind of make up my mind here and be logical for a moment about my emotions. So that's gonna be a
Mm.
really good, I would say, transition for cancers who are seeking relationships. Those who are in relationships, unfortunately, I really feel, relationships ending in summer actually for
Yep.
cancers.
Mm-hmm.
And really kind of long-term relationships kind of taking the toll that's need to take a toll. So, it's almost like I said before that, we've all been kind of in this position of 2024 of ending those relationships. Cancers are kind of still in them. And so the summertime, they're going to get rid of them as we have before previously. So,
Mm.
and I think, that's a good thing. I feel the cancer is having an exhale on this. Like, oh my God, it's done. I feel so good about this. So it's actually going to be a great relief for them in the summertime, those who are in those relationships. Not everybody who's in relationships can experience that, but just being more generalized because there's so many different variables. We can't address all of that. And then those who are not seeking relationships or not in relationships, I feel like, they're really going to be more with their personality. So those who want to be in television, those who want to be doing a podcast and be seen, do it. It's time to be shown. It's time to show personality. So I
Yeah.
think that can come as so many variables. If you're looking for that promotion, go for it. If you're looking for that, sense of being recognized, get it. So to me, the summertime is great for those cancers who want recognition. Get on it, and show that personality.
Agree. The astrology. So I 100% agree with you, Scott. The astrology agrees as well. First of all, Cancer should have broken up about a year ago. So they're way late.
We love you guys. I love my
They're
cancers
still
so
hanging
much.
on. They're
Yeah.
codependent addicts in that sense. Jupiter's going in their 12th house. So I kind of feel I see it different for Cancer men and Cancer women. For Cancer men, I think they're going to lose their teddy bear. Like Cancer men tend to be moody and hold on to their woman and I think those women are going to leave. So I think Cancer men will be left.
Right.
I think Cancer women will do the leaving. That's my
Sure.
prediction.
Makes
Like
sense.
that's sort of kind of where they're at.
Makes
I
sense.
do think Cancer women, I have more view for them because Jupiter's going there 12. I think they got some past life Romeos that need to wake them up and remind them of how sexy they are.
Sure. Sure.
So
Yeah.
I actually am predicting hot summer fleeting affairs for cancers.
Makes
Is my
sense.
which is a past life Roman lover. You forgot about him. You got
Right.
caught up in the narcissist for a few lifetimes. Remember this guy from Rome? He
Right.
wasn't smart, but boy, he was good in bed. I think he's coming back for another round. I think
Remember
it's just
Joseph Mary?
yeah. It's just to shake them awake. I just think Cancer women need to be kind of shaken awake. I
Yeah.
agree. Jupiter just moved out of their house of society, so it is time for them to bloom in the world. It's time for them to find their place in the world. I completely agree. I do predict though that Cancers are going to find their groove. There was like a
Yeah.
movie where someone got their groove back. That's
Yeah.
sort of
Stellar.
Cancers. I think. I think Cancer men will be alone, unfortunately. Like not necessarily, but they sort of need. I think Cancer men have been putting their emotions on their partners, and they have to be left with their emotions
Right.
before they're going to be anything sexy, right?
Sure.
Like they've got to learn how to kind of clean up those puddles on their
Sure.
own, and then they're going to be amazing macho. You
Right.
know, Cancer men are very very macho,
Mhm.
but they've sort of fallen into their in some of their pity party to some degree,
Right.
not all, but some. But I do predict when Pluto goes back to Capricorn in September, there could be a chance just when Cancer got their groove back. I wouldn't put it past the ex calls them up and begs
Right.
them back. So
Right.
be careful, Cancer. There will be one more
Yes.
beg back
Right.
where you're tested to fall for it one last time.
Right.
Stay strong.
Right.
We'll be here for you.
True. Very true. And now, and if you're a gay Cancer male, you're somewhere in between all that.
Yeah, I would say. Yeah, gay Cancer men are interesting. They're macho, but they also cook.
Right. Right.
Like they have it
They
all.
also
They're kind of
cry and they also leave and pout and yeah, they do the same. All
yeah,
that.
and they can be moody. Don't let piss them
Yes.
off, and don't let them
And as
drink
a
too
gay
much.
man, I know I've had that experience. So
I know
yeah.
a couple gay Cancer men, yeah, and they're like, yeah, and too many drinks goes too far. We'll just say that.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so now we're on to the Leos, your opposite sign, and my rising sign. So I'm not exactly objective. Okay, he's already worn out.
Oh, they're so exhausting. Leo men. I love Leo women. We're gonna separate this one too. Um, Let me see, because I get two different things with Leos are all over the place. What I find with Leos in the summer, Leo men particularly, is actually having this arrogance of I want to sow my oats. So I think that there's gonna be a lot of Leo men who are basically looking to have children, gonna looking for their wife in the summer, looking for a wife, looking for
Mm,
that future partner, and wanting to like settle down. So
yeah.
I get this like hunter energy. I gotta find my wife, gotta find my so. I feel a lot of that the confidence in that sense with Leo, straight Leo men in the summertime. With Leo women, I find that Leo women is complete opposite than that. Actually
Yeah.
looking for more of a casual relationship and more casual experiences and more out of the box experience and not wanting to be tied down. So if you're not in a relationship, you might be great in a casual relationship or just a sexual relationship and just a primal relationship. It's time for the women to experience that, Leo women. If you're in a relationship already, then I think that again, it's kind of similar to what you said with the other sign. I forgot what sign it was that I read about wanting something out of the box. And
Mm,
so again, stepping outside the norm and I would say if you're in a relationship and you feel like you want to get out of that in the summertime, you might need to find a hobby or something else to divulge that energy into, something creative, because it seems temporary. This kind of indulging of this kind of sexual and primal energy. It seems very temporary. So if
mhm.
you're not in a relationship, it'd be great to form casual relationships and let it out of your system. If you're in a relationship, find another. Don't cheat. Don't have an affair and don't leave the relationship thinking you need to have more in it. Just find another activity that can express that energy. I think again with Leos who are not seeking relationships at all, it feels to me they're going to. Gosh, I feel like they're going to have a decline when it comes to their professional life, but then a boom shortly after. So the summertime seems like a tornado for in a sense for Leos and Leo men, but primarily. But with women, the same thing. They might have that struggle of my career's taken a downturn. All the choices that I've made have rendered the success that I've been thinking. I've been too in my head, too about the facade. I gotta go rebrand. And I think once they do, they'll have a boost again. So I think it's rather important for Leos for this summertime of really being primal, really being thinking outside the box, but then also understanding that the energy they've been harvesting for up to this point has been more an ego, and they're going to find more of that spiritually driven part. And now I say ego, I don't mean that those who are Leos are egotistical. I'm saying it could be more thought, more in the mind and less from the heart. And I feel that change coming more into the heart. And I feel like they flip flop like that a lot, but I feel like the summertime will be kind of in that vein for them.
I think you're spot on again, especially the men versus female. So Saturn's in their house of sex and intimacy for Leos.
Mhm.
So I think the Leo men who have been whoring around this whole time, now the sex transit is like, let's get serious, let's get
Right.
intimate, some very white. I think
Interesting.
I think the Leo women have been sort of holding out for the love of their life and the man
Right.
of their dreams and their king of kings and their prince charming. And now
Right.
they're like, screw it, he's hot. Like, so I
Right.
think I think
Right.
Leo women are going to be, the ones in the jungle getting all the meat,
Right.
like sort of on the prowl. So watch out.
No pun
And she might
intended.
spit you out too, by the way, boys.
Right.
So, be careful. You're a play toy, just like a cat plays
Right.
with a toy. I
Right.
think Leo women are going to be sort of playing with their little mouse men and
Right.
having fun. You're spot on also. But I think this is all Pluto and
Ah,
Aquarius is in their house of Mirage. So really what's happening for Leos is they're getting to know themselves a lot better than they
right.
have.
Right.
And so I think the men who've been prowling need to get deeper, and the women who have not let themselves play and be who they
Right.
are
Right.
need to see these other sides of themselves. So I think you're
Right.
right on with that. With the career note, I think that's also true. I think they've been sort of on their Jupiter's been in their 10th house, so they've been all going after their vision, but I
Right.
think they've been ignoring the customer. I think they're
Right.
out of touch with the customer. I think they don't
Right.
they're like, I'm going to build this amazing kingdom. And it's like,
Right.
did you even do a poll? Are they
Right.
even interested in that color? Like,
Madonna comes to mind on that one. Isn't she?
yes, I would say so. Actually, we were talking about that in the meeting. Yeah. Madonna's a little out of touch on her last
A
tour. It's like,
little.
Sonny, you're a little out of touch. So there's a little bit of a wake up, but Jupiter in their
Stop
in
it.
their 11th house does
Sorry,
mean your
guys.
dog's trying to tell you something. Jupiter in their 11th house does mean that they will snap back. This is a temporary. Leos are very good at shining and twinkling. So as soon as they figure out what's not working with their reputation in the world, they will bounce and be and have a second coming. So I am
Right.
predicting that Madonna will resurrect, her current moment that
So
we're seeing.
resurrects by retiring.
Maybe, or just shifting. It's like time for a foundation,
Right.
time
Right.
for, you
Right.
own your age and be the wise one in the room
Right. Right.
instead of the hot, sexy material girl, I'm just saying kind of thing. But even Madonna
Hot,
might find
sexy material
herself,
girl.
yeah, exactly. Even she might find herself on the prowl. Anyone touring with Madonna, be careful.
Right.
Those young dancers are all in
That's
shape. Be
funny.
careful. Yeah. But I do think they're going to turn out okay. So that's excellent. Now let's move on to your rising, the Virgos.
My peeps in the house, overthinkers, brainstorming, pain in the
Overanalyzers.
assholes. Yeah, neurotic. Yeah, I know. Virgos. Let me see. We can be collective, I think, with the Virgo men and women, excuse me. I think it's kind of very collective on this. I think Virgos are going to they're going to be courted. I think that they're going to meet people that's going to court them. And I feel like the Virgos gonna say, I feel special. What? I don't have to do anything? What? I don't have to pay for the bill? Wait a minute. This is odd. So I think there's gonna be
Yep.
a lot of surprise in the fact of being courted for both men and women in a sense. So
Yep.
men who are used to picking up the bill are gonna find an independent woman. Women who are used to kind of being the caretaker are gonna find this very sensitive man. So I think that the Virgo is gonna find that really sense of I'm nurtured now. I'm being nurtured. I can relax. So good summer time for Virgos in a sense of summer of love, because go on that beach and relax. So that's a wonderful thing. So those who are in relationships are going to feel heard. I feel like they're going to feel like everything they've been saying for a long time has been digested. I feel like a lot of great shifts in the relationships that they might be in to where they are feeling heard, that the amount of time they've invested is actually now rendering for them. They're seeing that grow for them. So I think in their relationships, they're going to say, finally, my hard work's been paying off. This cancer finally woke up, so I think there's gonna be a lot of that great realization for them of where they can just sit back and relax now. And those who are not looking for a relationship or in a relationship, I really find a lot of meditation with Virgos in the summertime. So any type of spiritual awakening or spiritual calling will be manifested or realized, if not already. So I feel like an inner purpose, an inner sensitivity that brings that abundant energy and the energy of relax and calm is going to be manifest for them. So some light workers who maybe want to be light workers who are Virgos will decide to do that in the summertime. Many might even take
Mm.
trips to Sedona and go on a spiritual retreat. So a big spiritual awakening for Virgos too, in that sense. I would say collectively on the board when it comes to the Virgos in the summertime.
I agree completely with what you're saying. For one, I think first of all, Saturn's in their 7th house. So one thing I'm really going to happily tell you, all you Virgos, is you were wrong. You were totally wrong. You're not going to end up an old maid. You're not going to be alone. People don't
Right,
hate you. You're not too
right,
fat. You're totally wrong.
right,
And I get pleasure out of telling you that you're wrong.
right,
I think they're going to be a holy shift. They're going to realize, like, I didn't realize there were romantic men out there. I think for the Virgo men, I didn't realize a woman like that would love me.
right.
So I think you're absolutely right. I do think it'll be a slow burn. The North Node in Aries is pushing them towards intimacy. I think
Mm,
Virgos have always either seen themselves as too flawed or
right,
their partners as too flawed,
right,
and that's been a barrier to them really being close.
right,
They think they're close, but that's think. That's
right,
not actual emotional
right,
connection. So I think that the uncomfortable part for Virgos is they're going to get closer to people than they've ever been before. And although they said they've always wanted that, be careful what you ask for. It's going
right,
to be a whole new, I can just see them telling me, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I think that's part of it. Jupiter and Gemini does say it's time for their career.
yeah,
So I think what's going to be a healthy distraction, because the love's going to be so intense that it's what they've been looking for their whole life, and
right,
they can't believe it. They can't believe
right,
it's real because it goes against all their prejudice.
right,
I think that their break from that's going to be their career.
Right.
So your idea that light workers will be coming out, I agree. I think a lot of
Yeah.
Virgos are finally realizing that they have what it takes. They're finally, rounding up and is giving themselves half full instead of half empty. I think
Right.
that's a big shift that's going to happen as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
And they're ready, and I think they believe in themselves now too with where
Yeah.
things are. They're learning. One of the things that was blocking Virgo was they were so detailed about what love was.
Right.
They really need to put a blindfold on and feel their
Right.
ways through it
Right.
and stop trying to analyze it, because you're not
Right.
going to do God's job. You're not
Right.
going to pick out what all the features of the Ken doll is going to
Right.
be.
Right.
It's going to surprise you what you fall in love with,
Right.
but then your brilliance will like figure out like, oh, this fits like a glove.
Right.
So
Well, God
I think,
doesn't think, God bees. God's a feeling. So God doesn't think. So it's not a God quality to think. Right.
yeah, no, exactly. And they tend to overthink. I will say, stay away from the Geminis.
Yes. Yes.
Virgos and Geminis are like crazy, codependent, weird, cannot get unglued, especially Gemini men. I would say women, if you fall in love with the Gemini man, be careful. I'm
You
just
just
going to say,
described a relationship with myself. I'm Aquarius, Virgo rising, and Gemini moon. So you just
oh, there you
described
go.
I hate myself, love myself, hate myself, love myself.
Here you go, ladies and gentlemen, right here.
Aren't I hot? But fuck, I'm ugly. It's like this weird, huh?
Well, Virgo and Geminis, I always say to Virgo, like when a Virgo comes in, she's like, I've got this man, I can't get over him. He comes to me back. I'm like, hold on, Gemini.
Right.
And they're like, yes, how'd you know? Because every
Right.
Virgo has one of those Geminis in
Exactly.
their pocketbook,
Right.
particularly. It's
Right.
mostly Virgo women with Gemini men. That's all I've noticed. I haven't noticed a
True.
reverse on that one.
True. No, I
Actually.
agree with you because Gemini men have an airy approach. They're very like, I say the drifter energies what Gemini men kind of
Yeah.
give me, you know what I'm saying? So I think Virgos want a piece of that. Like, I just want to not care. I just want to just drift off somewhere. So there's an attraction to that opposite. And I think,
Yeah.
if they're conscious enough to want to learn from that, it can actually be successful if they're, of course, elevated enough to want to learn from that and to evolve in that space. It could balance them out, but they have to be very conscious and spiritually tuned to that type of evolution for it to work, though. And
Yeah.
so chances are your average Joe that working, no, not at all.
I know that Virgo women want to be listened to and Gemini men will listen,
Right.
but Virgo women
No,
want Gemini
they'll
men to be.
hear. They're here. They won't listen. They'll hear
You're
you.
right. And they don't come to the same profound conclusions. They switch
Right.
topics. So Virgos find themselves channel surfing in that
Right.
relationship all the time because the Gemini
100%.
just can't keep a signal. Yeah. Brilliant. Okay, on to the Libras. I have a lot to say on Libras, but you go first, friend.
Okay, Libra, 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 Libra. And again, this is complete blind to me. So a lot of these
Yeah,
signs,
you're
like,
doing, by the way, your reads are spot on. I don't want to jinx it, but like
yeah, no, right here,
you are
it's gonna
tuned
plummet
into the
now.
galactic.
Here,
Yeah.
here comes a downside. Womp, womp. No, I'm kidding.
No,
Um,
you're not going to
Libras,
go.
no, for Libras and relationships, for me, it feels structured to me. They're in the summertime. I think they're gonna start realizing how I would say stiff they've been. Kind of similar to Virgos in a sense of they've been thinking their relationships too much through, and kind of like checking the boxes in a sense. Well, they have this, so maybe I'll stay because all these check boxes and all. So I just feel they're gonna kind of like realize how stiff they've been because everybody else around them is not so much. Because I feel like the energy that Libras possess around them is very, very relaxed and loose. So they might be made a spectacle in the summer of how tight they are, and they need to open up and be more, I would say, freeing and more adventurous. So it's going to be realization for them. So I feel like they're going to do that same thing, meet relationships, like, I'm not interested. Same thing, I'm not interested, and they'll be dating, but they're just not gonna find any interest. And so I think even in those who are in relationships, they're gonna feel like this relationship's kind of boring me a little bit, feel stale and stagnant. So, but a lot of this is because they just thought they had nothing else to think about anymore. And nothing else to
Mm,
weigh, to measure anymore. It's like, yeah, maybe
to
it's not.
manipulate.
Yeah, right, exactly. Right. So now it's time to start feeling and being organic now. And so it's going to be a realization for them, and I do see a lot of traveling with Libras too, or at least wanting to start to travel or to getting out of this modality of stiffness. So I think there will
Mm.
be those who are not in a relationship or looking for one will feel an impulse to travel. I'm seeing a lot of water around, so they might want to get to more Caribbean nature because it's a summer and want to be around that kind of aqua vibe in a sense. Definitely wouldn't go to Palm Springs, that's for sure. So I see a lot of kind of want to get out of that modality and be more adventurous in a sense. So, so for me, it's more collective, and I think that it's rather simple, but I think that there's not much dynamic either that I'm sensing. So they might not be more to like weigh and measure at that point, and it's really getting outside of themselves. And I think that's summertime is time for them to really realize that I've been too stiff. There's nothing more for me to measure. Why don't I start enjoying?
Do you see a difference between the Libra men and women?
I didn't generally, but let me dive deeper and like zoom in more. Um, Yeah, I see the Libra women seem to be more analytical on this and the
Hmm.
measuring for me. The Libra men seem more about like conditional things around, in sense. So that might get in the way of the relationship. So they might be so about job and I got my relationship, got my job here. This is all in balance, and so that's good. And it's like, well, I nothing's really going with my career, nothing's going with my relationship. So they might realize things are a little stale and stagnant, and they're just stiff, and they need more adventure. They might realize. And the women might realize I'm overthinking, like a Virgo. I'm overthinking, trying to measure everything, and so I need to find some sort of release reprieve from this. So it's similar but slightly different in the sense of how they're expressing that for me.
Hmm. Interesting. Well, the South Node is in Libra, so that basically means that their ego is outdated. And I actually see
Right,
this. I think Libras have been a little arrogant, frankly.
right.
And what's ironic is you have the reputation of being open and fair. And when you are officially open and fair, then arrogance goes unchecked.
Let me
And I,
interrupt you. I want to interrupt you 1 minute because that's what I mean by like measuring things. Like that's a very, I didn't want to judge, but and throw that out. But it is arrogant to me because like you're measuring this. I got to check these boxes, and like, but who are you to kind of set the positions on this? So I want to say like that's ego driven to me. So I just want to concur on that too. But
okay,
what I mean
yeah.
by that, yeah,
And it's further better. I mean, I've seen it with women where it's like, I'll save him. I'll show him
right,
I'm the best girl for him.
right,
It's just like that's actually very ego. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like,
yes,
and I've seen the Libra men be like, I scored her. I scored. He's like a Scorpio. I've seen
right.
Libra men acting like Scorpios.
I
Like,
got the job. I got my wife. I got this.
yeah, it's like a contest to get the hottest girl or whatever. And
Right,
I'm hasty general. I'm being hasty general. I know not all are the same, but I think what it is that they're kind of like cancers. They're kind of in the old world of
right,
relationships,
yeah,
and their ego is still wired to the old hunt and chase and kind of thing. And so they're sort of being rebooted for the new era. I think.
I
And
agree.
I think here's the other thing. I think they were running after great ideas, not love.
Right,
I think the an analytic when you were saying check boxes, I agree. It was
yeah,
like he's got this, the house, the this,
right,
that's like, well, do you love him? Well,
right,
yeah. It's like,
right.
what do you mean that's the second thing that comes? It should be the first,
She's
like,
checking for it and he's getting it. Like I got the house, the car, and all of a sudden she's like, does he
right,
have all that's the differences
exactly.
between the poles of the genders. It's like, it's
Yeah,
too
I've
stiff.
seen that. But I do think that it's because they're going to actually be work in a way. What Libras do is work out how human relationships work. So
100%.
they are the petri dish. They are going to figure out
Yep.
how it works next. They're going to evolve the culture to the next level of how to
I
relate.
agree.
So they're doing the hard work. And unfortunately, they have to carry the burden. I
Right.
do. Jupiter's in their house of travel, so you're head on that.
Hmm.
Like you're
Hmm.
that they are, I think, going to be doing a lot of traveling,
Hmm.
expanding, thinking outside their box. I
Hmm.
actually think even though they rule relationships, they'll probably be the coolest. Is I agree. They'll have the least amount of love this summer,
Yeah,
official love, but that's because they're redefining what love is. Like
exactly.
it needs new terms. And I think I'm just going to put it out there. I predict in 2025 that they're going to find themselves with someone they never imagined they'd be with.
Right. Right.
Like I think they're about to change their entire type,
Paradigm. Yeah, I agree.
male and female. And I think the
Yep.
women are going to be swooped off their feet because they carry the purse, but they actually call the shots.
Right.
So I think they actually are now ready to be swooped up by the cowboy kind of energy,
Right.
which I think they really want. But
Yep.
they've always like attracted these fixer upper men. And I think the men are going to find tough women that call them on their bullshit.
Right.
And it's going to be a whole new day for the Libra
Yeah.
spectrum. So Libra's under construction, I think, as far as love is concerned. I think they're
Well,
going to
they're
love
there.
traveling places.
Right, and they're there to teach us balance. I mean, that they're going to bring that balance and find a balance in a different way for themselves too. So that again, this is definitely not a bashing on Libras. It's we admire that actually, and
Yep.
to me, it's a reflection that they are go-getters. It's a reflection that they do get things accomplished. It's a reflection that they do, manifest their desires a lot quickly and easier than others. So that's a speaking in favor of them. But we definitely want to see them in that proper balance and find the heart and soul that other signs have. you know, and
Yeah,
so some of us
absolutely.
have to work on those, conditional manifestations as they mastered. But yeah, I think it's still great for them because, they're gonna do what they want to do regardless. So even if the soul tells them to move on, they'll do it and feel good about it. So either way, I feel like they'll feel good in the process. Either way.
Agreed. And I think with the world going to hell, Libras are going to be out there doing diplomacy stuff. So they're going to be
Right.
busy in work. I think they're going to be
Yes,
really busy in their work and what
I
they
agree.
do. Yeah. All right. The Scorpios.
I mean, I have to agree. It's in the stars, right?
No, you don't have to agree. You're an Aquarius. You're contrary.
I'm like, well, I'll contest the stars. We don't know about that one. Uh,
Yeah.
let me see about Scorpios. Scorpios. I'm going to start more general. I think overall, Scorpio's going to want a sense of family. I really feel like they're going to want to either connect with family relationships or, if not, build a family. There's going to be a lot of sensitivity in Scorpios during the summertime, I feel like.
Mm.
And where they're going to be like, you know what? I've isolated myself. If they were in isolation, it's time for me to I want to connect with older friends, revisit older relationships, past relationships. So I feel like overall, there's going to be a sense of reconnection, and really kind of diving into wanting more connection. So if you're looking for a relationship, you're going to stumble a little bit, Scorpios. You're going to be a little kind of like, I kind of went to the wrong guy and woke up with, with my pants down and wine in my hand. Like, what happened in that? You're going to be bad at connecting with the right circumstances. And it might get you into trouble. So be careful. So, but go with that one to be expressive. Go with that need of one to be connecting and getting out of isolation. And so when you do, you're not going to get it right away, but just be conscious that you are testing your limits, but wanting connection and do it in a balanced way. Because I think you guys can go extreme connected and extreme isolate.
Yeah.
So make sure you're aware of that when you start feeling this impulse for connection. I am finding a lot of, I would say, amending of relationships for Scorpios during the summer. So either relationships that have disconnected because of communication problems or
Mm.
just I see a lot of mending of relationships too. So if you're in a relationship, if it's having a downturn, it's gonna click and resolve and to be a better understanding because you're communicating, you're opening up, you're wanting to connect. So that's why it's resolving. And those two are not interested in relationships in that sense. I feel like, a visual expression is going to come to, a manifestation. Either if you want to be interior designer, you're going to go for interior design. You want to do makeup, cosmetology school, whatever you want. I think there's going to be some sort of visual need or visual expression, even if it is that you just want to redo your home of that some sort. So a lot of
Mm.
visual creativity and tapping into the aesthetics and presentation, I feel like is going to resurrect during the summertime for those not interested in relationships.
Brilliant. I agree. So Saturn and Pisces for them is their heart of their inner child. So the tenderness is right on.
Mhm.
They're connected. Scorpios are all wounded.
Right.
And then I think they sort of kind of shifted intimacy into kink
Right.
and into sort of fetish kind of stuff.
Right.
And as a result, like they weren't really like juicy intimate, like I need you, baby, kind of thing.
Right.
It was more like smack them, like
I woke up in a bar with blood on my ass. Like, what happened? Like, you know what I mean? So sorry to be so
right.
explicit. It's a line from a film. So sorry, guys. But yeah, just very like you got yourself in a very bad, kinky situation. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was safe intimacy for them. And I think what's happening is they're getting really tender. The marshmallow side of them is coming out of their heart.
Right.
They're wanting closeness. I think they're starting to believe that people won't leave them
Right.
or cheat on them or betray them, which is
Right.
what their karma was, because Pluto's in Scorpio in the 80s. So just about every Scorpio has at least one betrayal on the books that
Right.
has made them sort of stand back and not let themselves get really close,
Right.
like on a deeper level. So I agree with you. I also feel that tenderness is going to evolve into a lot of healing, where they had said never, they will never talk to that person again, or they will never, they sort of cut, they're all about ghosting, cutting off the arm,
Right.
cauterizing it. Like when they say no, they say no. But I agree with you. And the part of you saying about them being artistic, I agree. I think with Saturn in the fifth house, they're finding their artistic
Right.
expression. They're
Exactly.
they're finding their tender side. And the universe with Jupiter and Gemini is pulling them into intimacy. So
Yeah.
I think for them, the key word is intimacy for the first time instead of sex. Not that they haven't been intimate, but they dip in and they get out. It's like
Right.
the cat fair's on the dresser. I'll see you
Right.
next week, kind
Right. Right.
So I think we're gonna see a
$20. Is
softer,
that all I'm
gentler.
worth? 20 bucks. Thanks, Scorpio. Yeah.
But I do think that they are the peace artists. I think that this new softer version of them is going to be peacekeepers on
I love
Earth.
it. Yeah.
Yeah,
I love
whereas
it.
before they were the ones willing to wage hell, and now I think they're going to negotiate at all costs to prevent anything bad from happening.
I
So I
agree.
think we're going to see a lot of great from for Scorpios. Good, they're ready to have really good relationships too.
I agree.
I think their relationships. I think Scorpios are going to make the relationships they have better
Right.
versus
Right.
whereas before they would cut. I think this is one of the first times that they'll stay.
Right. Yeah. It's like I said, like if they're in a relationship, they're gonna like resolve it was going down tick, they're gonna resolve it. And because they're wanting to connect now. So yeah, I totally agree with that.
Okay, awesome. We're on the same page, brother. Sagittarians.
Sages. Let me see. I do I have to split the genders here? I kind of feel like I have to. Um, Sag men. Oh yeah, yeah. I feel like the Sages are going to kind of be, snooping around. They're going to be, there's a lot of suspicion coming from them, I feel like in summertime. I feel like they're also coming out of an isolated period or ended a long-term relationship and kind of back on the mark. I get that energy of newness for some reason.
Mm.
Like putting their fingers in their toes in the pool again. And so I feel like there's gonna be like a fresh start for Sagittarius when it comes to
Mm.
relationships, opening up again. Maybe you're dating now again, and you've been closed off to dating for some time. But I feel like there's this childlike quality that's coming out from them too, saying, you know what, I kind of like want to have that kind of that high school dating type of experience again. I want to feel young
Mm.
again. So I feel like there's gonna be
Mm.
that adventurous, youthful energy for the summertime with Sages, especially men and actually men and women too. I just find men being more suspicious this summer though too, as they're kind of looking around into newer environments. It feels like a good release for me. And so I think that if there's when they're single, they're gonna meet, different personalities and then interview them and have some cuddle sessions and then go with another cuddle session here. The women will kind of like drag out a dating experience a little more. And so, but it will be pleasurable in a sense. If they're in a relationship, and this is more collective too, I feel like they're going to want to release some sort of secret information or something about them that's been hidden. So there might be some talk about their past that might resurface. Say, you know what? I never told you this before. I've been with you 20 years, but I'm a man, right? So they might release something that's really like 20 years. You didn't tell me this? Just kidding. But they might reveal something that they've been holding for. So I see a lot of like expression in that sense too for those in relationships to reveal and to get deeper in a sense and allowing us to be more transparent too. If they're in a relationship. Those who are not in relationship, I'm sensing like more of like if you're thinking about building a home or even moving, something of that construct will be kind of more of the summertime. So moving will be a great time in the summertime to find the house that you love. If you want to build a house, like I said before, building be great. So a lot more restructuring going on for Sages in the summertime.
Mm. Yeah, well, Jupiter and Gemini for Sag is the house of relationships and marriage. So I think the universe is pushing them towards a better long-term relationship setting. But the North Node in Aries says that it's time to go after their heart again. So when you said they want to be young again and go back to their teenage life, I completely concur. I think that's
Mhm.
really true. I actually feel like it's funny. The Sag men, I think, have been really focused on money and
Mhm.
doing well and
Right,
succeeding. And so I think Sag men have sort of kept things very shallow or not really super engaged. Like
right,
they've been so like out at work and doing things and being responsible with Pluto in the second house. So they're just now going, huh, maybe I want someone I can grow old with. So I think for the first time, Sag men are starting to think more long term.
right,
Sag women, I think, have been super responsible, like doing all their mama duties or their whatever duties. And I think they're going to be slower, like you said. I think they want to be
right,
friends first. I agree, but they really have like this very passionate romantic side of them
right,
that I don't think they've allowed themselves to really ever express.
right,
Like they, they know that they are super cheesy, but only for a moment.
right,
Like then they're sort of back to work, I think.
right,
But I do think that they are sort of on the countdown to finding true love. I think if Sages are in a relationship that is not sparking them, it's going to probably end this summer, or you're going to realize it needs to end. You're going to
right,
realize it's over.
right,
And I think Sages are going to start to realize, like, okay, I'm starting to feel like they're starting to open up to relationships for the
Right.
first time,
Yep.
change priorities, and
Yeah.
remember what their heart really wants. I think Sages, the South known for them as in the house of society. So Sages have done a lot of escaping from their friends.
Right.
And I think that's actually a part, like with everyone and their friends all hooking up now and starting to
Right.
settle in relationships, they're going to sort of be like, maybe I should go home on time and not be the last one at the party. So I think there's this sort of realization that's not time to grow. It's funny, they want their inner child to come out, but in
Right.
a way, it's also time to be a grown up,
Right.
and start to and really look for a more of a longer term solution. And
Yep.
maybe you see that you're aging and it's just like better cash in now while you can kind of
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what I feel.
Very
Yeah.
much so, yeah. And not micromanaging your relationships either. Well, this one's for the cuddle session, this one's for this, and really understanding unification and wanting something more stable, and consistent, and really feeling that passion and love again. So yeah, it's to me, it's a great time for them to make. And again, that structuring. So you said marriage. I felt like structuring, building a home, starting a home, that whole foundational structural energy. So yeah,
Yes.
I think that'd be a great time for them to make a great realization of that seriousness of the future, for
You
sure.
hit it on the head. Saturn's in their fourth house. So Sages have left home at age 15. Like,
Yeah.
and they never turn back. And
Right.
actually, you hit it on the head. I think they're wanting cozy home. They're wanting cozy by the fire,
Right.
Netflix night. They're,
Right.
they've always been life on the town. And now I think they're finally wanting to come home and
Yeah.
relax.
Right.
So they're
100%.
wanting cozy love if there's
Yep.
love. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, agreed. All right, now we're on to we got three left here, brother, and these are all rocking Capricorns. Hey, Cappies.
Capricorns. Ooh, Caps. This is gonna be a great year for Capricorns. Summer primarily. Um, those who are single, I see you still being single. Um, but the thing is, I don't see you guys wanting relationships, and those are single. I feel like it's gonna be like a new, I would say, newfound confidence in the self that says, I'm actually going to focus on career, actually. So I think Summer of Love for Capricorns will be career focused, actually, and getting that new idea off the ground. The one that's been festering, you've been saying, I'm going to get this off the ground, this new idea off the ground. I've been dusting it off, and I say, no, goddamn, I'm doing it. It's actually coming to fruition. I'm pushing it. So I get a lot of confidence in Capricorns in the summer, and those
Mm.
are single. So not really wanting relationships, almost like scoffing at people who are dating in relationships. Ugh, please, that's not my thing. And so I think they'll probably like get, what do you call puking on that? But those are in relationships. They might take a step back from heavy relationships, any type of emotionally draining relationships. They might run or escape from those type of relationships if they're heavy. Or if a relationship is wanting too much, they're going to want to separate from that relationship. Or if a relationship is well, they're going to want to have their partner to be supportive of their new endeavor. So the love for me in Capricorns is love and a new interest is when it comes to career, or even a project or some sort of hobby that they've been wanting to do. And those not interested in career, the same message is for them too. And I think this goes across the spectrum, male and female. The differences, though, I would say with the male and female is the men feel more charged. I would say up. The women Capricorns feel more, I would say, allowing, right? And so I think that there's going to be a nice balance between the Capricorns in the summertime when it comes to their individual self, their individual, I would say, foundation. And either the men will be go-getting and the women will be allowing. And so I actually like this summertime for them because I think it's going to be a very powerful self-identifying year for Capricorns.
Well said. The astrology says the same. For Capricorn men, I think their first love is always success
Right.
and always will be. They're actually in a love transit, but I think they want to be successful because until they're
Right.
successful, they just can't come home. Like they want to come home from to their love after a successful day, feeling
Right.
like the man. They're very 1950s kind of male energy,
Right.
and and they're getting into the new age of things. So I think they're going to be in love with work, in love with their
Yep.
career. I agree with you,
Hmm.
but I do think love is coming around the corner for them once they get some success under their belt.
100%.
The Capricorn women, I think, are wanting true love. And from what I'm seeing, they're in a bit of a conundrum
Yeah.
because men are becoming softer and more effeminate, and that's making them come off as more masculine. So
Right.
Capricorn women are actually having a hard time, I think, redefining themselves in love because they tend to be the stronger one in the
Right.
relationship with the men that are showing up, and they're not quite sure what to do with that.
Right.
And I think maybe in some regards, it's probably calling for them to find their softer sides
Right.
and, and
Allow.
yeah, and allow. Yeah. That's probably the big key for Capricorns is the idea of co-creation. I think that
Right.
they're learning how to share the ball with the
Right.
universe, like because they're usually leading the ball, leading the discussion.
No pun
They're learning,
intended.
yeah, yeah,
Drop those balls, ladies.
yeah, exactly. I also think that Capricorns are finding their a new way of thinking. So I
Yeah.
think it's the gentler is about gentler thinking,
Right.
and being more compassionate and less critical to themselves,
Right.
which then allows them to be less critical of others.
Fathers. Yep.
If anything, they're judging people out the door
Yeah.
probably too quickly.
Sure.
And they're going to have to just sort of like, the more they accept themselves, the more they'll find someone who they can accept.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Is what's
Totally.
happening with them. Yeah.
And and I didn't realize that dichotomy between Capricorns till now. I'm like, wow, women's are actually more that dominant. Men are a little more on the back side. So it's interesting to see them kind of finding that balance within themselves that way. So that's why I kind of feel like it's gonna be a good year for Capricorns overall, actually, in that sense. So
Yeah.
yeah, I love it.
It'll be good to see. And
Yeah.
Pluto's in their second house. So they're going to end up owning all the new industries and
Hmm.
be the first one to be in green energy and all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
So I think for the men, go for it.
Hmm.
Okay. That brings us to the sign you may not be objective on, Aquarius.
Ha!
You will be.
Well, I'm good at being objective, I guess, because I'm overly critical thanks to my Virgo. So, Aquariuses, this summer, I think you're gonna find love. I think summertime for Aquarius is very much love induced. It
Mm,
does, and those who are single or really find the passion for love in that sense when it comes to people, and intimacy. Not we're good at, Aquarians are good at the love on the projects, love of the world, but I think love of intimacy is going to resurrect this summer. So it's gonna be very romantic, I would say, for Aquarians
mm,
this summer with those who are seeking it. Those who are in relationships is going to heighten, but at the same time, those who are not really in love is going to break away very, very abruptly. So that's the kind of the dichotomy there, on that sense. But even other relationships that are unconditional will also work out and grow and put in the proper place if it's loving, truly love. So a very good intimate spark, a very good intimate, almost like Aquarians receiving the love and allowing that receptivity of love is going to be a very great expression so they can actually express it in return effectively. So I think Aquarians are going to find a balance, actually, believe it or not, which hearing this scares me a little bit. Um, and
wicked
so
webcam on you.
And so those who are not really seeking relationships, I do find some travel with Aquarians a lot more and getting out of their comfort zone, actually. And a lot of things will be manifesting for Aquarians this year that will be taking them out of their norm.
Yeah.
A lot of them, and I feel like Aquarians might even be moving now, if and not during the summertime. There's gonna be some moving. I think a lot of Aquarians will be moving before summer. I just feel like there's
Relocating.
relocating, finding a new home, the luxury aspect, I think, and something I've been actually tapping into, like increasing the luxury aspects of things. So I feel like that's also a collective desire for the Aquarians too for this summer, and really kind of putting themselves first. And so I think others will be putting themselves first too. So yeah, as far as those creatively in Aquarius not seeking relationships, I think a lot of the artistic expressions will be manifested. Music. I'm a musician, but I'm not saying because I'm a musician. I feel there are a lot of musicians who are Aquarians and writers and film producers and makers. I think there's a lot of that. And I don't mean to generalize. I'm really intuitively feeling that a lot of them will get these stories told. So for me, it's about getting stories told and getting their point of view to be actually receptive by the masses and owning it and being proud of it. So that's for those. And I think that can go again with those who are seeking and not seeking relationships. That would be kind of a collective with Aquarius. So interesting to read my own sign and seeing things I didn't expect, but also good confirmation for me.
Good affirmation. I
Affirmation.
concur. Yeah, well, Pluto in their sign, they're finally, I think, feeling strong with boundaries for the first time, like with themselves. I think that's always been the problem. I think they've just ghosted and disappeared or avoided or and now that they have the power of boundaries to say no and not worry about it, it opens up a whole new world.
Right.
Black Moon Lilith is in Virgo, which is their eighth house. So they're facing fears of intimacy right now.
Yeah.
I think Aquarius has been afraid of being taken over by their lovers,
Mhm.
being smothered, being trapped. These are like
Mhm.
some of their classic fears that they have. And those
Right.
fears are drying up now. I think they're starting to
Right.
feel like
They
because
are.
of the boundary stuff, they realize they can just say no, or they can just put up front what their boundaries are
Right.
and see if the person stays or not. But you're right on. Jupiter in Gemini is their house of love.
Mhm.
So this is a once every 12-year transit for Aquariuses to first fall in love with themselves, which is the
Right.
biggie you didn't mention. I think that's what's really happening under the
Oh, I
scenes.
did. I
Okay.
mentioned it. Yeah, I
Okay.
mentioned love for the self too, so you can express it, be able to express it. So yeah, I did.
Okay, fair enough. I might have
Yeah,
spaced out there or blocked it in my own denial.
it's
I
okay.
have
I talk a
Aquarius in
lot.
the seventh house. So I do think that they're going to fall in love with themselves. And I also think that's their expression for art. I agree. Saturn and Pisces in their second house is it's time for them to get out there and start making money with what they do. So I
Right,
think they're feeling love for themselves. They're feeling loved for the universe.
right.
And they're starting to open up to like closeness and tenderness. You know,
Yes.
what's weird with Pluto and Aquarius, we're seeing a push for Leos to act a little bit more like Aquarians and Aquarians to act a little bit more like Leos. We're seeing
Leos.
kind of
Yep.
this push for this opposite where the
Yes.
Aquas are getting sappy and the Leos are sort of straightening up in their chair a little bit,
Right. Right.
which is
True.
kind of interesting.
Very true. Yeah.
So we'll see if I'm very curious. I've never seen an Aquarius in love. Well, either because they hid it, they're very, formal and didn't share it, not because it wasn't happening, but because it just wasn't something you saw in public. I don't think I've ever seen an Aquarius kiss somebody. I'll have to think about it. Not even Jennifer Anderson, for instance. Like, right? Like, have you seen a love scene with her? Nope.
No.
Recently,
Oh
actually, in
yeah,
her
kind
last
of. I
series.
mean,
A
yeah, I
little
think
bit. I
so.
mean, even with
We
Brad
give we
Pitt, it's
give pieces of it. We give little like, here, we'll show a little bit, but not too much. We'll show your nipple, not the full breast, right? So
right, exactly. There'll be a hint
so
of it.
a hint of
Well,
it.
I think we're going to see a lot more of it. I think we're seeing a lot more nipples. I think we're going to see a lot. I think we're going to see a lot. I think we're going to see Jennifer Aniston. Actually, in her last series, she's starting to open up and show her side. Like she was married to Brad Pitt,
Right,
and they look like friends walking down together.
right.
I never saw them as touchy, kissy, huggy. But I think we're going to see that juicy Aquarius. So this, I think, will be. I will say for Aquarius, is this might be literally a summer of love,
Yeah,
and I think that they're not really used to letting love take over their life. So there's a
right.
lot of getting used to that.
Yeah,
I don't know if it'll last, right, long term per se, because like some Aquariuses might need to just get in the pool, swim
right.
around a bit, and see what it feels like. But definitely by 2025, I think they're going to know where they are when it comes to love, for
I
sure.
agree. I can see that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. So yay for the Aquariuses. I'd say they're one of the hottest tickets this summer, and probably very good for Gemini's. But Gemini and Aquas would do pretty well. I would just
Yeah,
put it up there.
I agree. That's always kind of a traditional match for Gemini's and Aquarians.
Yeah, well, yeah, and but now they're both sort of timed for it. It's timing for both of them, I would
Right,
say.
right.
They're both timed. And stay away from the Virgos,
What do you
Gemini's.
think about
Okay.
what do you think about like Aquarius and Sagittarius in that sense too?
That's interesting. Do I see those a lot? Yeah, I see those. I've always seen them like buddy. To me, they're like similar characters in
I'm
the
saying in the
party.
shift. I'm saying in the summertime. What do you think is the change you see in the summertime? You know what I'm saying? What do you see about like that? Do you think that would be potential for Aquarius and a Sag in the summertime?
I would have to get like a National Geographic camera and film it. I don't know if I've ever seen anything like that. I'm totally willing to do that study. So if theoretically they go well together. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, their energy sextile. So they're kind of, they've always been sort of friends, and it's sort of like friends that slept together.
yeah,
That's how I put
exactly.
it. It's like suddenly two friends are. It's sort of like a when Harry met Sally situation.
Right,
I think that would be Sag and Aquarius. Like
right.
it could work, yeah. But
I only reference that because I'm like it seems like summertime they're all Aquarius, Gemini's, and Sages are all like kind of looking for that seriousness, right? So I wondered like how that would pan out if that would even work because that similarity. It might work and then become a disaster, but I just you never know.
it'll be cordial. There'll be no hard words as they say goodbye forever.
Maybe a handshake. Yeah.
Yeah, they can have crazy wild sex and then shake and say that was fun. Nice to meet you. Like kind of thing.
Good job.
They're both adults about these types of things.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like it's not their first rodeo.
You mean transactional? That's what you really mean. They're very
It can be.
transactional about these
It
things.
can be, but with
Yeah.
a cultural understanding of one another. Like,
Right. Yeah.
they're both kind of cultural icons. They usually take each a corner. If you go to a party, there's like an aqua in that corner with a circle, and
Right.
there's like a Sag in that corner with that circle. Usually those corners don't talk.
Yeah.
So
It's true.
again, it'd be fascinating. Yeah, it'd be
True.
fascinating to see.
Yeah.
It's a new era. We never know.
I feel like because something within me feels like it's like the the dynamics you wouldn't think that would collide. I see colliding for some reason. I see a lot of those boundaries being broken. That's why I question that, because I feel like a lot of like unexpected connections will start colliding. You know what I'm saying? And that
Gotcha.
makes sense. If the species is evolving, then of course we got to kind of evolve and find different aspects and corners of our species that we can connect with and understand. I would say so. I think
Yeah.
actually my prediction is there'll be a lot of those colliding of different, energies in that sense, and weird compatibilities, connecting that you wouldn't expect. I think there'll be a period of that.
I don't disagree. I mean, with Pluto and Aquarius, it's anything goes.
Right. Woo woo.
And I think we have major gender fluidity right now. We have
Yeah.
major personality fluidity. It's like, really, you're right. We're probably about to see stuff we never imagined. We're definitely
Right.
breaking all of our classic stereotypes,
Right.
100%. It's
Sure.
time to rewrite the books.
Agreed.
All right. And then our final, but never least, is the Pisces, our little fishies. What do you see? Do you see a lot of little guppies swimming around? What do you see?
Let me see. Let me see about that. It's actually funny. I'm going to split this one between Pisces women's and women's. I sound four. Pisces women and men. It's funny you say little species, but I do feel like women are going to want childbirth. I feel like the
Interesting.
Pisces women might want to either decide they want children, have a child, or realize they do want a child, or get pregnant. So I feel a lot of that with the Pisces women.
Interesting.
With men, I feel, again, similar to, I think, I forgot what sign I read that I said this, kind of maybe wanting to settle down and sow the oats a little bit more. I do feel a hesitation with this though. Still kind of career driven in the sense, but then still trying to find the balance of that. So I feel like there's going to be an openness with them that they're going to want to kind of come in and I would say be more lucid. I would say in their relationships and not having any type of parameters, no expectations. Let me just figure it out. Let me just try it. I'm just going to try
Mm.
this for a little bit. That's with the men. With the women, again, really wanting to have any type of a new childbirth, giving birth to something new, even an idea. So we can think of that figuratively speaking. So there's going to be evolution. The men seem to be going a little slower on it for me, as far as getting to relationships, but
It's
wanting to get
always the
out of
case.
themselves. Is it okay? I'm not so familiar with
That's
Pisces.
what we call a Pisces.
Okay, I'm not so familiar with Pisces. So, but
No,
I
I'm
feel like with the
teasing.
men, but I feel them in the summertime, like really like just kind of like almost like come out of nowhere, and just like they might call that, that ex up, say, "What's going on?" That booty call. It's been like 6 years. What's up? It's so cavalier. And so I feel like they were gonna want to start getting their feet wet too when it comes to being intimate, even casual relationships. Those who are in relationships, I really feel like there's going to be, I find the Pisces, getting very needy, and those who are in relationships and saying, I kind of need more attention. I'm needing more. I'm not getting happy. I'm not satisfied. I need more. And so, they're going to realize that the structure that around them and how they've been somewhat conditional in a sense that they're starting to realize they've blocked themselves off in a sense. And so there's gonna be a realization in relationships to, I do want more. I do want to elevate this. And then realize they're the ones that blocked it. So
Mm.
and I do feel it across the board with the male and the female in a sense too. But I think it's a time for them collectively to really understand, the long-term effects of how they've been engaging with the relationships. And because I feel like a lot of times too, they might isolate, then be, again, I'm open, then I'm isolated again, then I'm open. So I get this back and forth wobble with them. I feel like they're going to start realizing they're going to take more control over when they want to be in those type of paradigms. So it's a realization of that balance and also want to understand more of the future. I don't feel like they'll plant their feet in the future, but the desire for such. And those who are trying to get pregnant in the Pisces sign for the females, I feel like that would be a time where it happens, or the desire for such.
Mm.
So
I'd say the
reproduction.
astrology's, yeah, the astrology's online. I mean, Black Moon, Lilith, and Virgo for them, they are facing fears around relationships right now. So those who are in relationships, I think, are working out their demons through their relationships and their shadow right now in a
Right.
big way. Um, I think Saturn in their sign means they're sort of growing up and they're ending a lot of their own karma. With Pluto in their 12th house. So I do think Pisces always came here to clear up a lot of garbage, a lot of spiritual baggage. But with Pluto in the 12th, like the one they were always meant to be with, is probably around the corner, or not too far away.
Sure.
The Pisces women, I see it. Jupiter and Gemini is the house of home and family. So
Mhm.
Pisces are wanting a new fishbowl.
Yeah.
So that is either your own little guppies or your grand guppies, or or settling
Yeah.
down or moving in or shacking
Right.
up. So I do think they are home building 100%. That's 100%, I think, ideal. Also repairing their relationship to their own parents, because a lot of Pisces, left home early and, were kind of rebels or
Right.
whatnot. It's funny what you say about Pisces, man. I find that they're always sort of beating around the bush. I think
Hmm.
if you find yourself, two ships passing in the night, one of them is usually a Pisces. So I think that's sort of common, you know what I mean? Like, but I feel, I feel like all Pisces are finding their real role. Like it's time for them. This is the end of the age of Pisces.
Right.
They are like the walking microcosm of that whole experiment of Earth. And so there's this final presentation with Pluto having gone through their 11th house. This is final presentation of like, they're going to come out and be something now.
Right.
And I think part of that will be in spiritually, probably, not what sort of unconventional relationships too. They're really good at unconventional relationships. They can
Yeah.
marry the person that other people can't marry and
Well,
whatnot.
but that's because they're good at the disappearing act. They're good at like coming and coming out too and disappearing. They're really good at that too, I would say. So, those conditional relationships do benefit them too in that sense.
Oh yeah. Well, and they're always half in and half out. Like I
Right.
always joke, like Pisces are always walking out the door while they're walking in the door. It's the
Right.
fish going both ways. Like
Right.
I think I wonder if they'll evolve past that. I mean, Jupiter and Cancer will be when they really fall in love,
Yeah.
which is next year. So I
That
think
makes sense.
they're kind of playing house this year, maybe.
Right.
And
Like
the
they're getting
ones
their
who
feet
are,
wet, but not putting their feet all the way in the sand in a sense.
yeah,
Like, yeah,
they're
it's like
keeping an eye on the
desire.
door on the exit the whole
Right.
time. Like they're not quite sure. And the ones who are in relationships, they're working out their demons right now. And then when Jupiter goes into Cancer, they're going to fall deep, madly in love if that person stuck through them with them in the relationship when they were going through that stuff too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I agree. I agree.
yeah, so it's good times. All right. Well, that was phenomenal, man. I would chit chat with you more, but we did almost 2 hours together, which we can do
Wow.
easily. I know. Isn't that crazy? 20 more minutes to be 2 hours. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. I hope there's people still here.
There are people are loving it. Yeah. Shout out to everyone who's here. We appreciate it. It's been a great conversation. Thank you for coming on, man. We're going to
Love
release
it.
these all as individuals. You all
Yes.
check out, how do we get your music? You're a very good musician. So
Thank
how do
you.
we find your music, bro?
Yeah, I get Scott Cruz, Cruz. It's on YouTube. Sometimes you type in my name, the music banner comes up. Sometimes it doesn't. I don't know why that's happening. So here on Apple Music, Scott Cruz, same thing. Spotify, of course, Amazon as well. People do Amazon Music, and
Huh.
I write, produce, play all my music. So everything you hear is all done by myself.
Yeah.
And so yeah, and I'm enjoying. Just new song has come alive, and it's really kind of resurrecting culture. That's the song, what it's really kind of about there, and so. It's time to come alive in 2024, baby.
I love it. I think music is going to play such a huge part of the new era. So you've got your thumb on the pulse in both ways. And he's a brilliant psychic. He is for hire for
Thank you.
sessions. ScottCruzPM.com. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah.
To
I had to
book him
think. I'm
for
like, is
session.
it? Because I never type it. I'm like, yeah, Scott Cruz PM.
Scott Cruz PM,
Yes,
which is psychic medium. That's the PM is. And
yes,
then Thursday nights on YouTube, he's live like this. I mean, a lot of our subscribers watch you on Thursdays and me on
yeah.
Fridays. So we're building this like cross
I love
traffic
it.
thing. So if you want to go easy, does like one question for 25, two for 35. And actually he sells out fast. So get there early instead of the money because it's hard to actually get a ticket these days. He's so popular. Thank you, Scott. We love you. And we appreciate
I'm
you, dude.
developing. I wouldn't say popular yet. Developing. I'm fresh still.
Oh,
So
you're sold out in the first 20 minutes. If you don't put your ticket in, you won't have time to get him. He's that big. Yeah. So, all right, brother. We'll stay backstage. Let's chat for a minute afterwards. And thank you for coming on.
I
We love
appreciate
you.
it. Bye, guys.
Yeah.
Bye, Serious Story family.
See you next time. All righty. That was great. I had so much fun. Did you guys? I know you all did. It was a great time. Scott and I just love to chat. I love my aqua friends. I got to say, they're just such great friends. And I just love seeing the way they are just lighting up. I don't know if you have any Aquarius friends, but seeing them just light up with Pluto and Aquarius, I've never seen a sign take so well to Pluto, to be honest. I've never seen a sign take so well. I've only seen so many. I've seen Scorpio, Sag, Capricorn, and Aquarius in my adult life. And I got to say, Aquas are just like eating that shift up. They're just coming online. It's really very inspiring and great. So thank you everyone for staying tuned this long. I will remind you that, in my day job, I run a company called SeriousJoy.com. We are a spiritual enlightenment service. We take your date of birth information. We give you personal coaching based on your chart. We are the most loving astrology app on the planet. Let me just test it out. Find for yourself. You literally are loved by our entire team. We have an amazing team. Right now, we're doing the 40 days of past lives and karma. We're helping people to understand their karma. You can learn your karma. You can see your past lives. And we're about to do the chapter starting tomorrow of learning the aspects of your chart that point to your past lives. So I don't know any other program like this that will show you point by point, planet by planet, degree by degree, what indicates past life karma. And once you see it as past life, it is such a relief, because at that point you're like, oh, it's not me, it's a past life. Here I've been feeling like something was wrong with me. It's like, no, something was wrong with you and you're remembering it in this life. So seriousjoy.com is the URL for that. We also have last week currently on the Golden Mega Monthly address, and interview is live on the site. This is a 90-minute show. It is available right now to watch on the site. Click Mega Monthlies. We also have mini Mega Monthlies for all 12 signs, going live tomorrow, by the way. I have a lot of stuff building up, so it's going to be on the 2nd, not on the 1st. But you can see a 15, 20-minute audio on each of the 12 signs and what you can expect for this whole March madness going on, which is us really being quiet and tuning in. That is now live. This Wednesday, we're doing a special Angel Tips with Devin Dewar and Heather Exposito. Both the ladies will be coming on, and we'll be talking about connecting to angels. We've been teaching this angel connection program alongside our 40 Days of Past Life and Karma. Both ladies will be live at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. They do a phenomenal job. We'll have 3 subscribers on as well. That is on Serious Joy on Wednesday, March 6th. Sharing is caring. All we ask that is that you share us with your friends and family, and that you share the horoscopes. We have the individual horoscopes that come out on Tuesday. We will be cutting out these horoscopes that Scott and I did as special horoscopes for the Summer of Love. Those will be coming out here probably later next week as well. So share them with your friend or family, especially someone you're in a love relationship with. It's the best thing you can do to help us, is just share us with your friends and family. There's nothing better than a word of mouth referral. If you'd like to donate, we do accept donations. Some people prefer to give back in that regard. It's paypal.me/Sensei Christopher. We have a Facebook group. It's phenomenal. It's at seriousjoy.club. We do allow all light workers to advertise their services in the club. We do have a special human design study group called Chiron Study Group, where we teach you about your chart and tarot and other things. So we have a lot of great things. Come down to the club, get to know our community, because we have the best, most amazing, loving people in one group. If you'd like to follow me on social media, I am posting like a madman 7 days a week. Go to seriousjoy.social for our linked tree. And if you'd rather listen instead of watch, well, we turn this into an audio podcast on Spotify, Stitcher, and Apple Podcasts. I want to give a special thanks to our producer, Noel Way, our casting director, Mara Moon, director, Sarah Lyman. Thank you very much for doing all the graphics and staying live through the whole show. Our teaching staff, thank you to Robbie Hunt, Kristen Ryder, Devin Dewar, Joe Zamet, and Heather Exposito. And a very special thanks to our super friends in the chat who come every week with loyal love and support. Thank you to Princess Coffee Bean, Jill Louise, Margot Malia, Lori Ship, Nikki Anderson, Libran Lauren, Experimental Elemental. I saw you all week or all night tonight in the chat. Also, thank you to Erica, Michelle Camper, Michelle Bell, Kat Ryder, our soul brother, Daryl Blankenship, Neptune Girl, Jamar, Christine Kelly, and the amazing Iggy. And I want to say thank you to David Palmer for popping in today. It was nice to see you, brother. We love you too, the Leo King. Until next week, friends, I am so grateful to be of soul service and be shining in this moment with you. I love you. Live, love, be.